As the great Buddha once wisely said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. In a world where the noise never stops, where phones buzz, people shout, and the mind races, it's easy to lose your center. But imagine being able to walk through chaos with a steady heart, just like a monk walks calmly through a busy marketplace. Buddhism teaches us that calm is not the absence of noise. It is the art of not letting the noise enter you. When the world shouts, the mind that is trained in stillness hears only silence. The storms outside cannot shake a mountain rooted deep in the earth, and your mind can be that mountain. Every moment of calm you build inside becomes a shield that protects you from the chaos around you. Today, you will learn powerful Buddhist lessons that will train your mind to stay calm no matter how loud life gets. 1. Anchor yourself in the breath before you react. When life gets loud, it's natural for the mind to get swept up in the noise. Imagine being in a room where multiple people are talking. Your phone is buzzing with notifications, and someone suddenly says something that feels offensive or unfair. Your instinct might be to jump in and respond quickly, defend yourself, or check your phone right away. This is the habit of a restless mind. It reacts without thinking. But in Buddhism, we are taught that the first step to keeping our peace is to pause and return to the breath. The breath is more than just oxygen entering your lungs. It is your personal anchor, a constant companion that has been with you since the moment you were born and will remain with you until your last day. No matter where you are, whether you are sitting in traffic, standing in a noisy market, or dealing with workplace tension, your breath is always available to you. When you pause and take a slow, deep breath, you are doing something powerful. You are breaking the chain between the world's chaos and your mind's reaction. Think of it as creating a sacred space inside you. In that small pause, you step out of automatic reaction mode and into awareness. You give yourself a moment to see the situation clearly before responding. This is important because most of the mistakes we make in life happen in moments when we react too quickly, without giving ourselves space to think. In Buddhist practice, focusing on the breath is a way of returning home to yourself. As you inhale deeply, feel the air filling your lungs. Notice the gentle rise of your chest. As you exhale, feel the tension leaving your body. With each breath, your mind begins to slow down. The noise outside might still be there, but you are no longer a part of it. You are simply observing it. This habit can transform the way you live. The next time someone says something that triggers anger, instead of snapping back, take a breath. The next time you feel overwhelmed by too many tasks, instead of panicking, take a breath. The next time the world feels too fast, instead of trying to catch up, take a breath. Over time, you'll realize that this simple act of anchoring yourself in the breath is not just a calming technique. It's a reminder of your inner power. It tells your body and mind, I am here, I am safe, and I choose peace over chaos. You don't have to wait for life to be quiet to feel calm. You can create calm inside you at any moment, simply by breathing with awareness. 2. See the noise as temporary clouds in the sky. One of the most freeing truths in Buddhism is that nothing lasts forever, neither joy nor pain, neither sunshine nor storm. The same is true for the noise of life. Whether it's the chatter of people around you, the rush of traffic, the pressure of deadlines, or the constant voice of your own thoughts, every bit of it is temporary. Yet, we often treat noise as if it will be with us forever. We allow it to consume our attention and drain our energy, forgetting that it will eventually pass. The Buddha often used the image of the sky to explain the nature of our mind. Imagine your mind as a vast, open sky, limitless, pure, and still. Thoughts, emotions, and the noise of life are like clouds passing through this sky. Some clouds are small and light, drifting by without much notice. Others are dark and heavy, carrying storms. But no matter how big or loud they seem, the clouds are not the sky. They cannot change the sky's true nature. The sky remains untouched, calm, and ever-present above them. When you see life's noise in this way, you stop clinging to it. You realize that the loud argument you overheard, the criticism you received, or the stressful task you have to finish is just a cloud passing by. It might linger for a while, but it will eventually fade, just like every cloud does. This perspective allows you to remain centered and peaceful, even in the middle of chaos, because you no longer believe the noise is permanent or part of who you are. The problem is not the noise itself, it's our habit of holding on to it. If someone says something hurtful, we replay it in our minds for hours or even days, letting it live rent-free in our mental space. If a situation stresses us, we imagine all the worst outcomes before they even happen. This is like chasing a cloud and trying to keep it above your head instead of letting it float away. The practice is to notice the cloud and then release it, knowing it is only passing through. In mindfulness meditation, this is exactly what we train ourselves to do. When a sound distracts us, we simply acknowledge it. This is the sound of traffic, or this is the sound of people talking, and then return to our focus. We don't judge it, we don't resist it, and we don't get caught up in it. We see it for what it is, something temporary, and in that moment of clarity, it loses its power to disturb us. The next time you feel overwhelmed by life's noise, pause and remind yourself, this is only a cloud. Feel the relief in knowing it will pass. Just as the sky never worries about losing its blue to passing clouds, you don't have to lose your calm to passing noise. You are the sky, not the storm. The noise can exist around you, but it doesn't have to live within you. 3. Practice the art of the inner room. In Buddhism, there is a beautiful understanding that while the outside world may be noisy, your mind can remain as still as a quiet temple if you learn to cultivate a sanctuary within yourself. This inner sanctuary, what I like to call your inner room, is a mental and emotional space that belongs only to you. No one else can enter unless you allow them to. It is the place where you can retreat to find stillness, even if you are in the middle of the busiest, loudest environment imaginable. Think about it this way. A monk walking through a bustling city doesn't demand that the traffic stop, the people go silent, or the vendors close their shops. Instead, he carries his silence with him. The world continues its noise, but inside, he is sitting in his inner room, where the sounds outside are like faint echoes that can't disturb his peace. This is not a gift only monks have, it is a skill anyone can develop. Your inner room is built through regular practice. Every time you meditate, sit in stillness, or spend even a few moments breathing deeply and mindfully, you are strengthening the walls of this inner sanctuary. Over time, those walls become strong enough to keep out the distractions and disturbances of the world, not because you are ignoring them, but because you are no longer attached to them. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require physical isolation. You could be sitting in a crowded bus, standing in a noisy kitchen, or working in a chaotic office, and still be in your inner room. All it takes is shifting your awareness inward. You close your mental door, not to shut out the world in anger or avoidance, but to create a moment where your inner self can breathe without interruption. Buddhist teachings remind us that the mind takes the shape of what it repeatedly focuses on. If you constantly focus on the noise, your mind becomes restless and loud. But if you regularly focus on stillness, your mind begins to take on the qualities of that stillness. Your inner room becomes more spacious, more serene, and more accessible, until eventually you can enter it instantly whenever life starts to overwhelm you. To practice, start with just a minute a day. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine a peaceful room in your mind. It could be a real place you've been to, a calm beach, a quiet library, a sunlit garden, or a place you create in your imagination. Give it details, the colors, the smells, the textures, the temperature of the air. See yourself in that room, safe and undisturbed. Whenever life feels too loud, picture yourself returning there. The more vividly you can imagine it, the more real it becomes for your mind, and the faster you can access it in stressful moments. With time, your inner room becomes your constant refuge. Life will keep knocking at your door, emails, arguments, deadlines, problems, but you will have the choice to open the door only when you are ready. Until then, you remain in your quiet space, listening to the sound of your own steady breath, untouched by the noise outside. And the most remarkable thing? The more time you spend in your inner room, the more the outside world begins to feel calmer, too, because peace radiates from within you and gently shapes the space around you. 4. Choose not to pick up every noise offered to you. Not all noise is yours to carry. In fact, most of it has nothing to do with you at all. Yet so often, without realizing it, we take ownership of other people's words, emotions, and energy as if they were our responsibility. A harsh comment, a rumor, a sarcastic tone, an impatient driver honking at you, these are like packages being handed to you throughout the day. But here's the truth: you are not obligated to pick them up. Buddhism teaches the wisdom of non-attachment not only to material things, but also to the emotional baggage that others try to pass on to us. If someone speaks with anger, they are handing you their inner turbulence. If you react with anger in return, it's like you've accepted their gift and carried it away with you. But if you let their words fall to the ground instead of catching them, they remain theirs to deal with. This doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you learn to distinguish between what truly needs your attention and what is simply noise passing by. A monk once said, "You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to." This is a liberating truth. Every time someone tries to provoke you, every time a notification tempts you to waste your energy, you have a choice: engage and absorb the noise, or let it pass you by. In practical terms, this means training yourself to pause before reacting. When you feel the pull to jump into someone else's emotional storm, ask yourself, does this require my energy? Does this add peace to my life or take it away? More often than not, the answer will be clear. Most noise is a distraction, not a necessity. This is especially true in the age of constant connectivity. Social media, news alerts, gossip, these are streams of noise that never end. If you try to respond to everything, you will exhaust yourself, leaving little space for clarity or joy. Choosing not to pick up every piece of noise doesn't make you ignorant. It makes you wise. You protect your mental energy the way a gardener protects a delicate flower from weeds. In Buddhist practice, this skill is like sweeping your mental space clean every day. You notice what is being thrown at you: criticism, blame, unnecessary drama, and instead of storing it inside, you let it fall away. You keep your inner space light and uncluttered, so when something truly important arises, like a genuine call for help, a moment to connect with a loved one, or an opportunity to grow, you have the energy to respond fully and compassionately. The next time someone offers you their noise in the form of anger, negativity, or pointless chatter, remember, you are not a dumping ground for other people's unrest. You can simply smile, breathe, and let it go. The power of your peace lies not in controlling the noise, but in refusing to carry what does not belong to you. And the more you practice this, the more you'll discover that life becomes lighter, not because the world is quieter, but because you have learned not to pick up every sound it throws at you. If you want, I can now expand. Lesson 5. Slow the mind with single-task presence in the same detailed and reflective way, so the entire script keeps the same depth. Do you want me to continue with that next? You said, now, 5. Write more, long. Write in 5,000 Craktha. ChatGPT said. Here's the fully expanded and deeply detailed version of Lesson 5. Slow the mind with single task presence. Written to be around 50 characters while keeping the same smooth, immersive, and easy to understand style as the earlier lessons. 5. Slow the mind with single task presence. One of the greatest causes of inner noise is not the world around us. It's the way our own mind jumps from one thing to another, endlessly chasing the next task, the next thought, the next worry. You could be sitting in a quiet room and still feel overwhelmed, not because of the environment, but because your mind is juggling too many things at once. Buddhism teaches that this constant switching is like pouring water into a glass with holes. You never feel full because your attention is leaking in every direction. We live in a culture that celebrates multitasking. We check our phones while eating, reply to messages during conversations. Think about tomorrow's meeting while trying to enjoy today's walk. On the surface, it might seem efficient, but in reality, it fragments the mind and feeds restlessness. Instead of doing anything with full presence, we end up doing many things with half attention, and half attention is a breeding ground for stress. Buddhist practice offers a simple but life-changing solution: single task presence. This means bringing your full awareness to just one thing at a time, whether it's drinking a cup of tea, washing a dish, walking down the street, or listening to someone speak. It sounds almost too simple, but when you do it, you'll notice something profound. Your mind begins to quiet down. The mental noise fades because it has nowhere else to go. It's not being pulled in 10 different directions. When you eat, for example, practice eating with complete awareness. Notice the colors of your food, the aroma rising from it, the texture on your tongue, the way each bite feels as you chew slowly. When you walk, feel each step as your foot meets the ground. Notice the rhythm of your breath, the sensation of the wind on your face. When you talk to someone, really listen, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but hearing their words, their tone, their pauses. This way of living slows time. A minute of full awareness feels richer and more complete than an hour spent in distraction. It also allows your mind to rest naturally. Instead of trying to force yourself into calm, you give your attention something steady to rest on, and the calm arises on its own. In Zen Buddhism, there is a saying, "When walking, walk. When eating, eat." It is a reminder that life happens in the present moment, not in the scattered spaces where the mind likes to wander. The more you anchor yourself in this presence, the less you will be overwhelmed by the background noise of thoughts and external demands. This doesn't mean you will never have a busy day. There will still be moments when multiple things demand your attention, but even then, you can move through them one by one, fully finishing one task before shifting to the next. Think of it like crossing a river by stepping on one stone at a time. If you try to stand on multiple stones at once, you'll lose balance and fall. But if you focus on each stone as you step, you cross with stability and confidence. Single-task presence is also an act of self-respect. It tells yourself, what I am doing right now matters enough to have my full attention. When you live like this, you no longer feel like life is rushing past you. You taste it, you feel it, you experience it in its fullness. And with each moment of presence, your mind becomes less frantic and more like a calm, steady lake reflecting life clearly, without the constant ripples of distraction. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Pick one thing, just one, and give it all of you. Close the other tabs in your mind. Put your phone away. Let the rest of the world wait. In that simple act of doing one thing with full presence, you'll find the volume of life turning down and the quiet strength of your own calm rising up. 6. Accept that you cannot control the world's volume, only your response. One of the greatest sources of frustration in life is the belief that our peace depends on the world becoming quieter. We think, if people would just stop talking so much, if work wasn't so stressful, if my family stopped arguing, if traffic wasn't so loud, if my thoughts would just go away, then I could finally be calm. But this is a trap the mind sets for itself, because the truth is, the world will never fully quiet down for us. There will always be something happening, a voice raised, a machine running, a problem waiting, a thought whispering. If we wait for all of that to disappear before we allow ourselves to feel peace, we will spend our whole lives waiting. Buddhism teaches us that suffering doesn't come from the noise itself, it comes from our resistance to it. We add a second layer of pain by wishing the noise would go away, by feeling irritated at its presence, by telling ourselves we cannot be at peace because it exists. This is like standing in the rain and shouting at the clouds, hoping your anger will make them disappear. The clouds don't care about your shouting, they will pass when they pass. Your peace cannot be tied to their timing. When you accept that you cannot control the volume of the world, something incredible happens. You stop wasting energy fighting it, and you start focusing on the one thing you can control, your response. This shift in focus is the beginning of true freedom. You realize that calm is not about silencing the world, it's about silencing the way the world controls you. Imagine two people sitting in the same busy cafe. One is stressed, tapping their foot impatiently, glaring at the noisy group at the next table. The other is sipping tea slowly, watching the steam rise, their body relaxed. The noise around them is the same. The difference lies entirely in their inner response. The first person has given their peace away, making it dependent on others' behavior. The second person has kept their peace in their own hands, choosing not to hand it over to strangers. When we try to control the world's volume, we are fighting an endless battle. The Buddha described it as, trying to stop the wind with your hands, you will exhaust yourself and accomplish nothing. But when you stop trying to control the wind, you can instead learn how to sail with it. This is the art of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean liking the noise or pretending it doesn't exist. It means acknowledging it as part of reality without letting it dominate your mind. One powerful practice in Buddhism is to notice when your mind is saying, "This shouldn't be happening." That simple thought, "this shouldn't be happening," is often the root of our suffering. It resists reality, creating tension in the body and agitation in the mind. But when you change that thought to, "This is happening, and I can choose my response," you step into a position of power. You stop being a victim of the moment and start being the master of it. In Zen monasteries, monks often train in environments that are intentionally not perfectly quiet. Bells ring, people walk, chores happen. This is because the goal is not to find a silent world, but to find a silent mind within a noisy one. If you can meditate while the birds are singing, the broom is sweeping, and a conversation is happening nearby, you can carry that same peace into the busy streets, into your home, into your workplace. There's a story about a monk and a waterfall. The monk lived near a roaring waterfall that made a constant, thunderous sound day and night. Visitors often asked how he could meditate in such a loud environment. The monk simply replied, "At first, the waterfall was all I could hear. Then, after some time, it became part of the background. And eventually, it disappeared not because it stopped, but because I stopped feeding it my attention." This is the power of training your response. You stop giving your energy to the noise, and in time, it fades into the background of your awareness. In your own life, you can practice this by noticing when you are mentally wrestling with noise, whether it's the literal sound around you or the figurative noise of problems and emotions. Instead of saying, "This needs to stop for me to be okay," Try saying, "I can be okay even while this continues." This single shift in thinking removes the condition you've placed on your peace. And here's the key. When you stop resisting the noise, it loses its power to disturb you. Resisting creates friction. It's like pushing against a heavy door. It takes effort. It creates strain. But when you stop pushing, you realize you can simply walk around it. That walk around is choosing your own calm response. This doesn't mean you never act to change your environment when needed. Of course, if you can reduce unnecessary noise, turn off a notification, step into a quieter room, choose peaceful company, that's fine. But your peace should not depend entirely on those changes, because there will always be moments when you cannot escape the noise, moments when the only control you have is over your own mind, and those are the moments where your true strength is built. Try this simple exercise. Next time you hear a sound that would normally irritate you, pause. Close your eyes if you can. Instead of labeling it as bad or annoying, simply identify it. This is the sound of traffic, or this is the sound of people talking. Breathe into it. Notice how your body reacts. Soften your shoulders. Release your jaw. Let the sound be there without needing it to change. You'll find that your relationship with the noise transforms. It's no longer an enemy you must fight, but just another part of the present moment. When you make this a habit, you will notice something profound. The world's volume doesn't need to go down for your peace to go up. You carry your own volume control inside you, and it works from the inside out. People may still speak loudly, machines may still hum, challenges may still arise, but they no longer dictate the rhythm of your heart. This is the ultimate freedom Buddhism points toward, a mind that remains steady regardless of what the world throws at it. You become like a deep ocean. Storms may stir the surface, but the depths remain still. You are no longer a small boat, tossed about by every wave of sound or problem. You are the ocean itself, vast, calm, and unshaken. So the next time life feels unbearably loud, remember, you may not be able to turn down the world's volume, but you can always turn down the way it echoes inside you. And when you master that, you carry an unshakable peace with you, wherever you go. 7. Make peace a daily habit, not a rare escape. For many people, peace is treated like a luxury, something you can enjoy only when the conditions are just right. We say things like, "I'll relax when work slows down. I'll feel peaceful when I'm on vacation. I'll be calm when I finally fix all my problems." But life has a way of keeping us in motion. The work rarely slows for long. New challenges replace the old ones, and even on vacation, the mind can carry its restlessness with it. Buddhism teaches that peace is not a rare gift that visits you from time to time. It is something you cultivate, nurture, and protect every single day. It's not about waiting for the noise of life to stop. It's about building a deep, steady, quiet inside you that is strong enough to exist no matter what is happening outside. Peace is not a place you run away to. It is a state you carry within. Think of peace like a garden. If you only water it once a year, the plants will wither and weeds will take over. But if you tend to it daily, pulling out the weeds, nourishing the soil, and giving it sunlight, it will thrive, season after season. Your mind works the same way. You cannot neglect it all year and expect it to bloom the moment you decide you need peace. You have to give it consistent attention, small acts of care, every day. In Buddhist practice, this daily tending takes many forms: meditation, mindful breathing, walking meditation, practicing gratitude, or simply pausing to notice the present moment. Even a few minutes of conscious stillness each morning can set the tone for your entire day. When you make these moments of peace a habit, you're not just calming yourself temporarily, you're training your mind to return to that state more easily, even when life gets loud. The danger of treating peace as a rare escape is that it becomes conditional. You might tell yourself, "I'll be at peace once this problem is solved," or "I'll relax when I have more time." But peace that depends on conditions is fragile. It can be taken away the moment those conditions change. A true daily peace practice makes your calm unconditional. Whether things are going your way or falling apart, you still have a place within yourself to rest. This doesn't mean you need to spend hours meditating each day. In fact, the beauty of daily peace is that it can be woven into the ordinary moments of your life. You can practice mindful breathing while washing your hands, feel gratitude for the warmth of the sun on your face while walking to your car, or choose to focus completely on the sound of the wind while sitting by your window. These moments may seem small, but they are powerful. They are the seeds of a calm and steady mind. One of the Buddha's teachings says, "Drop by drop is the water pot filled." Likewise, the wise man, gathering it little by little, fills himself with good. Your peace is filled in the same way, not in grand, rare moments, but in small, consistent acts of mindfulness and presence. Daily peace is also about knowing what to let go of. Each day, you carry thoughts, emotions, and burdens that weigh you down. If you never pause to release them, they pile up and create constant inner noise. A daily habit of peace means taking time to notice what no longer serves you: resentment, regret, unnecessary worry, and putting it down. This is like sweeping the floor each day, instead of waiting until the dust becomes overwhelming. To make peace a true habit, you must also protect it. This means becoming mindful of what you let into your mental space. You can't control everything, but you can choose to limit unnecessary negativity. It might mean stepping away from toxic conversations, setting healthy boundaries with people, or choosing media that uplifts rather than drains you. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's the foundation that allows you to show up in the world with clarity, kindness, and strength. Another key is to begin your day with peace before the noise begins. Too often, we reach for our phones first thing in the morning, flooding our minds with messages, news, and updates before we've even taken a breath. But if you start your day in stillness, even for just a few minutes, you anchor yourself before the world has a chance to pull you in. You greet the day with a clear mind, making it far harder for external noise to disturb you later. Likewise, ending your day with peace helps you sleep deeply and wake refreshed. Take time before bed to sit quietly, reflect on the day without judgment, and release any tension you've been holding. This daily closing ceremony tells your mind it is safe to rest, and it reminds you that you are not defined by the busyness or noise of the day. You are defined by the calm you choose to return to. Over time, daily peace becomes less of an effort and more of a natural state. You will find yourself staying calm in situations that used to upset you, listening more deeply, speaking with more patience, and moving through life with greater ease. People will notice the change not because the world around you has gotten quieter, but because you have. The ultimate goal is to make peace your default, not your retreat. It becomes the space you live in, not the place you visit when things get hard. And when you live this way, life changes in subtle but profound ways. The noise of the world may still be there, but it no longer feels like a threat. You respond to challenges with clarity instead of panic. You listen to others without feeling the need to rush or react. You carry a quiet strength that nothing and no one can take away. In Buddhism, peace is not seen as the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of wisdom and awareness in the middle of it. By making peace a daily habit, you are not running away from life. You are learning to meet life exactly as it is, without losing yourself in it. You are no longer waiting for the perfect moment to feel calm. You are creating calm in every moment, one breath, one choice, one mindful act at a time. So ask yourself, Are you waiting for peace, or are you making it? The answer to that question will determine whether your calm is fragile or unshakable. Begin today, not by chasing a perfectly quiet life, but by building a quiet mind. And do it every day, not because the world will ever stop being noisy, but because you can always choose to stop letting the noise control you. 8. Let stillness flow through every action you take. In most people's minds, stillness is imagined as something that happens only when you are physically still, sitting in meditation, lying in bed, watching the sunrise. But in Buddhism, stillness is not just a physical posture, it is a quality of being that can infuse everything you do. It is not about freezing your body or avoiding life's movement. It is about moving through life with a mind that remains undisturbed, like the deep waters of a lake, even when ripples dance on its surface. One of the most common misunderstandings about peace is the belief that it requires us to stop doing, to retreat from life completely, to live like a hermit in the mountains. While solitude has its place, the real mastery is in carrying stillness into the middle of life's busiest, noisiest moments. True calm is not tested when you are alone. It is tested when you are surrounded by movement, demands, and distractions, and you still act with clarity, grace, and patience. Think about a musician who plays an instrument flawlessly in a crowded concert hall. The noise of the audience, the shifting lights, the thousands of eyes watching, all of that is there, but their focus is unshaken. Or a martial artist in the middle of combat, moving with precision, breathing evenly, not letting the opponent's speed pull them into panic. Or a mother holding her child in a bustling market, navigating the crowd without losing her gentle touch and protective awareness. These are all examples of stillness in motion. Buddhism teaches that when you allow stillness to flow through your actions, you begin to live in a state of meditation in movement. Every step becomes deliberate, every gesture mindful, every decision clear. The world may still be loud, but it no longer dictates the rhythm of your actions. You move according to the rhythm of your own calm heart. This begins with awareness. When you perform any task, no matter how small, bring your mind fully to it. Washing dishes, feel the warmth of the water, the texture of the plate, the motion of your hands. Walking to the store, notice the sensation of your feet touching the ground, the air brushing against your face, the colors of the world around you. Speaking to someone, listen with your whole attention, without mentally preparing your reply before they have finished. At first, you will catch yourself rushing. Your hands will move faster than your awareness. Your mind will wander to what's next instead of staying with what's now. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes to let your mind and body move together as one. And this harmony creates an unshakable stillness, because your mind is no longer scattered across past regrets and future worries. It is fully present in the now. There's a Zen saying, "Chop wood, carry water." It's a reminder that the path to peace is not in escaping ordinary life, but in being fully alive within it. The act of chopping wood or carrying water becomes a meditation when done with complete presence. You can apply this to anything: typing an email, making a cup of tea, even folding laundry. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice moving with stillness. When you let stillness guide your actions, your energy changes. People can feel it. Your presence becomes grounding for others, like a calm center they can lean toward. You may notice that conversations become gentler, conflicts de-escalate more easily, and even stressful situations feel easier to navigate, not because they have changed, but because you are approaching them from a place of steady clarity. Stillness in action also protects you from burnout. Much of exhaustion doesn't come from the amount of work we do, but from the way we do it: rushing, multitasking, letting stress dictate our pace. When you move with stillness, you are no longer draining energy with scattered attention. You become more efficient, not because you work faster, but because you work with a mind that is steady and undistracted. There is a teaching in Buddhism about the unmoved mover. It describes a person who can act fully, respond wisely, and engage with the world, yet remains inwardly unmoved by its chaos. Like a tree rooted deeply in the earth, they can sway with the wind without breaking. This is the ideal we aim for when we practice stillness in action, not to be lifeless or passive, but to be deeply alive without being easily shaken. To develop this quality, choose one daily activity and turn it into a stillness practice. It could be making your morning tea, commuting to work, preparing a meal, or even brushing your teeth. Whatever it is, commit to doing it with your full attention, without rushing, without letting your mind drift into unrelated thoughts. Notice the difference it makes, not just in the quality of that moment, but in the way it influences the rest of your day. And here is where the transformation happens. When stillness becomes a natural part of your movement, life stops feeling like a constant series of interruptions. You no longer resent being pulled into conversations, chores, or responsibilities, because each of them becomes another place to practice your calm. You no longer wait for quiet moments to feel peaceful, you carry peace into every moment. Ultimately, letting stillness flow through your actions is about dissolving the gap between your inner world and your outer life. Too often, we keep them separate, calm inside only when outside is quiet, agitated inside when outside is loud. But when the two align, you live in harmony. Whether you are in a busy street or a silent forest, you remain the same, rooted, steady, awake. The world will not stop moving. Life will not stop asking things of you. But when your movements are born from stillness, they stop feeling like demands and start feeling like expressions of peace. And that, perhaps, is the highest form of calm, not stillness as something you escape into, but stillness as something you bring to every step, every breath, every action of your life. Listen to the silence beneath the noise. If you pause for a moment, right now, wherever you are, you will notice something. Beneath all the sounds around you, the voices, the hum of machines, the rustle of leaves, the faint buzzing of electronics, there is something constant, something you may not have noticed before. It is the quiet backdrop in which all sounds appear and disappear. This is not just physical silence, it is the deeper stillness that is always present, even in the noisiest places. Buddhism teaches that learning to connect with this silent background is one of the most powerful ways to remain calm in a noisy world. You see, noise is temporary. It comes and goes. It rises, changes, fades. But silence, the space that holds the noise, remains. Think of it like the vast night sky. Clouds may pass through, lightning may flash, thunder may rumble, but the sky itself is untouched. The noise may fill the air for a while, but it is always surrounded by silence, just as clouds are surrounded by open sky. Most of us spend our lives focusing only on the noise, forgetting that the silence beneath it is always there, patiently waiting for us to return. Why is this important? Because when you focus entirely on noise, your mind becomes restless and reactive. It feels pulled in 100 directions, always responding to the next sound, the next demand, the next disturbance. But when you train yourself to notice the silence underneath, you shift your perspective. You realize that the noise is not the whole picture, it's just one layer. Beneath it lies something untouched, unshaken, and constant. That deeper silence is a mirror of your true nature. In Buddhist meditation, this practice is often called resting in awareness. You sit and allow all sounds, thoughts, and sensations to arise and pass without clinging to them. Instead of chasing each sound with your attention, you rest in the awareness that notices them. This awareness is like the open sky. It allows everything to pass through without being disturbed. Even in a loud place, you can drop your attention down into that inner silence, and it will feel as if the noise has less weight, less grip on you. To understand this more deeply, Imagine you are sitting by a busy road. Cars rush past, horns honk, people talk loudly nearby. At first it feels overwhelming, but if you shift your focus, you start to notice moments between the sounds, tiny gaps of quiet. And as you listen more closely, you realize that even during the noise, there is a deeper layer of stillness inside you that is untouched. The cars don't enter it. The voices don't disrupt it. It's as if you have two worlds at once, the outer world with its movement and noise, and the inner world that remains calm and spacious. With practice, you can tap into this inner silence anywhere, while walking in a crowded market, while sitting in an office with constant chatter, even while dealing with conflict. Instead of becoming tangled in the surface noise, you anchor yourself in the quiet beneath it. You listen, not to the noise itself, but to the silence that holds it. This doesn't mean you ignore what's happening. It means you stop letting it dominate your mind. One of the most profound shifts happens when you realize that this inner silence is not just the absence of sound, it is a presence in itself. It is alive, vibrant, full of potential. When you connect to it, you feel more grounded, more whole. The tension in your body softens, your thoughts slow down. You begin to notice details you would normally miss, the way sunlight falls on the floor, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, the weight of your feet on the ground. This is why in Buddhist monasteries, even when monks are working or speaking, there is a quality of silence in the air. It's not that there is no sound, it's that the sounds arise from a place of awareness, not from restless chatter. Every movement, every word, is surrounded by an intentional quiet that makes the noise feel less intrusive. To practice listening to the silence beneath the noise, you can try this simple method. Pause and notice. Wherever you are, stop for a moment and notice the sounds around you. Don't label them as good or bad, just hear them. Find the gaps. Listen for the small spaces between sounds. It might be just a fraction of a second, but notice that in that moment there is complete stillness. Drop deeper. Instead of following each sound, let your attention rest in the awareness that notices the sound. This awareness doesn't come and go, it is always there, like the sky holding the weather. Stay rooted. As more sounds arise, see if you can stay connected to that deeper silence. Let the noise be there, but don't let it pull you away from the quiet center. Over time, this becomes a habit. When life gets loud, instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," you think, "This is just the surface. The silence is still here." And the moment you remember that, your body relaxes and your mind clears. There is a story in Zen about a master who meditated every day near a busy marketplace. His students asked why he didn't choose a quieter place, and he said, "If I can find silence here, I can find it anywhere." This is the power of the practice. You stop depending on perfect conditions for your peace. You carry it with you. When you learn to listen to the silence beneath the noise, you also begin to respond to life differently. You speak more slowly, with more intention. You make decisions from a calm place rather than from panic. You feel less urgency to react to every sound, every message, every demand. You become like a deep well people can draw from you without draining you, because your calm comes from a source that the noise cannot touch. And perhaps the most beautiful part, the more you connect with this inner silence, the more you begin to share it with others. People feel calmer in your presence, not because you are doing anything dramatic, but because your stillness is contagious. You become the quiet space in the middle of their storm. The world will always have noise, machines will hum, voices will rise, life will be busy. But beneath it all, the silence is always there, waiting for you to notice it. Once you learn to live from that silence, the noise no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes part of the dance of life, rising and falling while you remain steady at the center. In the end, listening to the silence beneath the noise is not just a technique, it's a way of living. It's remembering that you are not the noise, you are the space in which the noise appears. And when you live from that space, life's volume no longer controls you. You carry your own quiet wherever you go. Let go of the need to win every battle. One of the most common ways we lose our calm in a noisy, chaotic world is by turning life into a series of battles, arguments to win, opinions to defend, points to prove. The noise doesn't always come from outside. Often, it's our own inner commentary, constantly telling us we need to be right, to stand our ground at all costs, to make sure the world sees our truth. In Buddhism, there's a simple but profound teaching. Not every battle is worth fighting. This doesn't mean you become passive or allow injustice to go unchecked. It means you learn to see clearly which battles are necessary and which ones are only stealing your peace without truly changing anything. When you can let go of the need to win every time, you create space for a deeper victory, the victory of staying calm, steady, and unshaken, no matter how loud the world becomes. Think about the last time you got pulled into an argument. Maybe it was with a friend, a family member, or even a stranger online. At the beginning, you might have believed the debate was about the truth, but as it went on, it probably became more about proving yourself right than about finding understanding. Your voice got louder, your heart raced, your mind spun with points and counterpoints. By the end, you may have won the argument, but you lost something more valuable, your inner stillness. The Buddha often taught that clinging to being right can be just as harmful as clinging to material possessions. Why? Because both forms of attachment create suffering. When you attach to being right, you make your peace dependent on other people agreeing with you, and you hand over control of your emotional state to them. Every disagreement becomes a threat. Every different opinion becomes an attack. This is a heavy way to live. Letting go of the need to win every battle doesn't mean you stop caring about truth or justice. It means you stop letting your ego turn every difference into a personal war. You choose where to place your energy wisely, just as a skilled archer chooses when to release an arrow. You understand that some battles are not worth the cost of your calm. In Zen practice, there's a saying, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. The waves here are not just life's challenges, they are also other people's opinions, criticisms, and misunderstandings. You can't make everyone see things your way, just as you can't stop the ocean from moving. But you can learn to ride those waves without drowning in them. You can smile when someone disagrees, listen without taking it personally, and walk away without carrying their words with you. This skill begins with awareness. The next time you feel the urge to jump into a disagreement, pause. Ask yourself, if I engage in this, will it bring more peace or more noise into my life? If the answer is more noise, you can let it go, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to protect your energy. Letting go also means allowing others to be wrong without needing to correct them. This can feel strange at first, especially if you pride yourself on being knowledgeable or precise. But think of it this way. If someone insists the sky is green, you don't need to argue to know it's blue. Your truth is not weakened by their misunderstanding. In the same way, your worth is not reduced because someone misjudges you, and your wisdom is not erased because someone refuses to see it. Buddhism teaches that when you give up the fight to control how others think, you gain the freedom to focus on your own mind. Instead of trying to win every argument, you win something much greater, your own freedom from constant conflict. You stop spending your days defending yourself against every noise that comes your way, and you start using that energy to build inner strength. There's a powerful story from the life of the Buddha. Once, A man approached him and began insulting him in public. The man's words were sharp, meant to provoke. The Buddha simply stood there, listening calmly. When the man was finished, the Buddha asked him, "If someone offers you a gift and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "It still belongs to the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled and said, "Then I do not accept your insults, and they remain with you." This is the essence of letting go of unnecessary battles. You don't have to accept every gift of conflict someone offers you. You don't have to carry their anger, their misunderstanding, or their need to be right. You can simply leave it with them and walk away lighter. In your daily life, this might mean letting go of the need to reply to every critical comment online, choosing not to argue over small mistakes, or walking away from a heated conversation before it turns into something hurtful. It might mean deciding that your peace is worth more than the satisfaction of proving your point. When you live this way, you'll notice something unexpected. The world feels quieter, not because it has changed, but because you're no longer running toward every sound. You choose your battles, and as a result, you have more energy for the things that truly matter, helping others, improving yourself, and living in alignment with your values. The practice of letting go of the need to win every battle also deepens your compassion. When you stop seeing every disagreement as a threat, you can start seeing the human being behind the words. You realize that sometimes people argue not because they are against you, but because they are struggling inside themselves. Their anger, stubbornness, or defensiveness often comes from pain or fear. By not reacting with equal force, you give them space to soften. And here is the deeper truth. In most cases, peace is not found in winning, but in walking away still whole. Your life is too precious to spend it in constant fights that lead nowhere. There will always be more noise, more opinions, more provocations, but you are not obligated to meet every one of them head-on. You can choose the silence of a calm heart over the noise of endless battles. In time, this choice becomes second nature. You stop feeling the need to have the last word. You let others speak their truth, even if it's different from yours. You learn that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And when you live like this, you discover a peace that no argument can take from you, a peace that comes from knowing you don't have to fight to prove who you are. The world may still invite you to battle every day, but you can decline the invitation, smile gently, and keep walking your own path. Because the greatest victory is not in defeating others, it is in mastering yourself. And when you have mastered yourself, no amount of noise can shake you from your inner stillness. Master the art of returning to the present moment. The mind has a habit, it wanders. In fact, scientists studying human attention have found that our minds spend nearly half of our waking hours somewhere other than where we physically are. We may be sitting in a meeting, but thinking about dinner, walking in the park, but replaying a conversation from last week, lying in bed, but worrying about what might happen tomorrow. This mental wandering is not just a quirk of human nature, it's one of the main reasons we feel overwhelmed and restless. In Buddhism, the wandering mind is sometimes compared to a monkey jumping from branch to branch, unable to stay still. When life gets loud, this monkey mind leaps even faster. Every sound, every problem, every distraction becomes a new branch to grab onto. And before we know it, we're swinging from noise to noise, thought to thought, without ever truly resting. The antidote to this is the practice of returning again and again to the present moment. This isn't about forcing your mind to stay still forever. Even the most seasoned monks still experience wandering thoughts. The mastery lies not in stopping the wandering completely, but in noticing when it has happened and gently guiding yourself back to the now. Why is this so important for staying calm? Because the present moment is almost always more peaceful than the past or the future. The past often brings regret, resentment, or nostalgia that aches. The future is filled with worry, fear, or endless planning. But the present, this breath, this step, this moment, is often neutral, even pleasant, if we can fully inhabit it. The noise of life becomes overwhelming when our minds multiply it, when we don't just hear a loud sound, but attach to it a chain of thoughts. Why is this happening? I can't focus. This always happens to me. My day is ruined. The sound itself may last only seconds, but the mental noise can last hours. Returning to the present breaks this chain. You hear the sound, acknowledge it, and return your attention to what is right here, right now. In Buddhist meditation, returning to the present moment often starts with the breath. The breath is a perfect anchor. It is always here, always moving, always real. You don't need to imagine it, force it, or buy it. It's the most immediate connection to your life. Whenever you notice your mind wandering into the noise, you can return to the simple act of breathing, feeling the air move in and out, feeling your chest rise and fall. At first, this return may feel clumsy. You might notice you've been lost in thought for several minutes before realizing it. But that moment of realization is not failure, it's success. It's the exact moment you wake up from the noise and step back into the present. Each return strengthens your awareness, like a muscle that grows with repeated use. Outside of formal meditation, you can practice returning in everyday life. When you're washing dishes and your mind drifts to a stressful email, bring your attention back to the warm water on your hands, the sound of the plate clinking in the sink. When you're walking and your mind replays an argument, bring your attention back to the rhythm of your steps, the feel of the ground beneath your feet. When you're eating and your mind is on tomorrow's to-do list, return to the taste, texture, and aroma of your food. One of the beautiful things about this practice is that it doesn't require silence or perfect conditions. You can return to the present moment in the middle of a busy street, in a crowded train, or in a noisy household. The noise may still be there, but you're no longer lost in it. You've come home to yourself. There is a Zen story about a monk who was asked how he maintained his calm in all situations. He said, "When I walk, I walk. When I eat, I eat. When I sleep, I sleep." The questioner laughed, saying, "We all do those things. What's so special about you?" The monk replied, "No, when you walk, you are thinking of work. When you eat, you are thinking of tomorrow. When you sleep, you are thinking of the past. That is the difference." This is the essence of returning to the present. It's not about doing different things, it's about doing the same things with your full presence. Over time, you'll notice that returning to the present moment changes your relationship with life's noise. Instead of being swept away by every sound and thought, you become more like a mountain, still and grounded, even as the wind moves around you. You see the noise for what it is, temporary, passing, just one part of the moment, not the whole of it. One of the most powerful shifts you can experience through this practice is realizing that the present moment is enough. The mind is always telling us we need something else to be happy, something from the past to come back, something from the future to arrive. But when you fully inhabit the present, you see that there is already peace here, already life here, already enough here. This doesn't mean you stop planning for the future or reflecting on the past. It means you stop letting them steal the only thing you truly have, the now. Planning becomes a conscious choice, not a constant escape. Reflection becomes a tool for learning, not a trap for reliving. To deepen this practice, you can set small return points in your day. Every time you hear a phone notification, take one conscious breath before reacting. Every time you sit down to eat, pause for 3 breaths before your first bite. Every time you notice tension in your body, Bring your mind back to exactly what you are doing in that moment. These small pauses are not interruptions to life, they are life. They are the moments where you reclaim your mind from the noise. When returning to the present becomes a habit, something extraordinary happens. The world doesn't need to get quieter for you to feel peaceful. You could be in the middle of traffic, surrounded by honking horns, and still feel a quietness inside you. You could be in a heated meeting at work, voices raised around you, and still feel a space of calm from which you can respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. And perhaps the most profound gift of all is that when you live in the present moment, you actually live your life. You stop rushing past it in search of some better moment that never comes. You taste your food, feel your steps, hear the subtle sounds in the air, notice the expressions on people's faces. Life becomes richer, not because it has changed, but because you are finally here for it. In the end, mastering the art of returning to the present moment is not about controlling the noise. It's about realizing that you can be calm in the middle of it. The present moment is always here, like a safe harbor in the storm. All you have to do is come back to it, again and again, until it becomes your home. And once you live from this home, no noise in the world can truly drive you away from yourself. If you'd like, I can now move on to Lesson 12 in the same 15, zero-character immersive style, so your series continues to grow into an even deeper and more complete guide to staying calm in a loud world. Do you want me to proceed with Lesson 12? Cultivate the power of gentle detachment. One of the deepest roots of inner turmoil is attachment not just to material possessions, but to ideas, expectations, routines, identities, and outcomes. When life gets loud, it is often our attachment to how things should be that makes the noise feel unbearable. The outside sound is one thing, but the inner resistance, the mental protest of, "I don't want this, this is not how I planned it, this isn't fair," is what multiplies the disturbance. Buddhism teaches that suffering often arises from clinging. We cling to a desired outcome, and when reality does not match it, we suffer. We cling to the way someone should behave, and when they act differently, we feel hurt. We cling to a certain image of ourselves, and when life challenges it, we feel shaken. The truth is, life will rarely arrange itself according to our script. The more tightly we hold, the more easily we are disturbed when things shift. Gentle detachment is not about indifference or not caring. It is about loosening our grip enough so that the winds of change and the noise of the world do not uproot us. It is gentle because it comes not from cold withdrawal, but from compassion for ourselves, for others, and for the nature of life itself. Imagine holding water in your hands. If you clutch too tightly, it slips through your fingers. If you hold too loosely, it spills away. Gentle detachment is that balanced middle path, holding life with care, but not gripping it so hard that you break your own peace when things inevitably shift. When you practice gentle detachment, you can still love deeply, commit fully, and work passionately, but you no longer make your peace depend on getting exactly what you want. You understand that joy and calm come not from controlling life, but from flowing with it. Think of the sound of rain on a rooftop. If you resist it, complaining that it's too loud, that it's ruining your plans, you create tension in your body and restlessness in your mind. But if you accept it, if you say, "This is the sound of rain, and it is part of today," then the noise becomes part of the background of your peace. Gentle detachment works the same way. You accept that reality will be as it is, and you adjust your inner posture instead of demanding the world adjust itself for you. One of the key aspects of this practice is releasing attachment to outcomes. In daily life, we often attach not just to what we are doing, but to how we believe it should turn out. You work hard on a project, so you expect praise. You speak kindly to someone, so you expect kindness back. You plan your day, so you expect it to unfold without interruptions. When these expectations are not met, we feel disappointed, frustrated, or even angry. Gentle detachment invites us to give our best effort while letting go of the result. We still act with intention and care, but we release the mental contract that says, if I do this, life owes me that. This is deeply liberating because it means our calm is not held hostage by circumstances we cannot fully control. In relationships, gentle detachment allows you to love without suffocating, to care without controlling, to support without losing yourself. You can be present for someone's joy and pain without making it all about you. You stop trying to mold people into your image of who they should be and instead allow them the space to grow in their own way. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. It means not letting your inner peace depend on someone else changing to fit your vision. Practicing gentle detachment in a noisy world also means learning when to step back from the constant stream of stimulation. Our modern environment feeds attachment by constantly offering us hooks to grab onto, headlines designed to provoke outrage, social media feeds designed to keep us scrolling, advertisements designed to make us believe we are incomplete without a purchase. The more we grab, the heavier our minds become. Detachment is the choice to let some of those hooks pass by without biting. One powerful exercise is to consciously release something small each day. It could be the need to reply immediately to every message, the need to check the news every hour, or the need to correct someone when they get a minor detail wrong. Each time you let go, you strengthen the muscle of detachment. And over time, this habit spills into the bigger things. You find it easier to let go of grudges, to accept when plans change, to adapt when life moves in an unexpected direction. Gentle detachment also means detaching from the constant noise in your own head. Often, the loudest voice is the inner narrator, constantly judging, comparing, predicting, and worrying. You may not be able to silence it completely, but you can learn to see its chatter as just another kind of passing noise. Instead of identifying with every thought, "This is me, this is my truth," you can see thoughts as weather patterns in the mind, forming and dissolving on their own. In Buddhist practice, this is sometimes called observing without clinging. You watch the thought, the emotion, or the sound, but you don't chase it or fight it. You let it arise, let it pass, and keep your roots in the present moment. This is detachment in action, not running away from life, but staying present without being pulled into every ripple of it. Over time, gentle detachment creates a spaciousness in your mind. Noise can enter, but it doesn't fill the whole room. Challenges can arrive, but they don't overwhelm you. You begin to feel like the calm center of a spinning wheel. The world turns, life moves, people change, but you remain steady at the hub. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you loosen your grip on life, you often enjoy it more. The moments are richer because you're not trying to control them. The people in your life feel lighter because you're not holding them in a cage of expectations. You find joy in what is, rather than constantly waiting for what should be. So, how do you start cultivating gentle detachment? Begin small. Notice when you're gripping. Catch yourself in the act of clinging to an outcome, an opinion, or a feeling. Breathe before reacting. Give yourself a pause to choose a lighter response. Ask, will this matter in a year? If the answer is no, loosen your hold. Practice releasing. Let go of one unnecessary attachment each day. Shift from must to prefer. Instead of, this must happen, try, I would prefer this to happen. It softens the grip. The more you practice, the more you'll see that detachment is not losing. It's gaining the freedom to move with life instead of against it. You don't stop caring. You care more wisely. You don't stop feeling. You feel without drowning. You don't stop living. You live with an ease that noise cannot shatter. In the end, gentle detachment is the art of holding life with open hands, allowing it to come and go, knowing that your peace does not depend on what you hold or what slips away. When you live this way, the world may still be loud, but it no longer has the power to shake your heart. And that is a calm worth cultivating every single day. Strengthen the space between stimulus and response. ChatGPT said, "Strengthen the space between stimulus and response." In life, there will always be moments that challenge your calm moments, when someone says something sharp, when events take an unexpected turn, when the world throws a sudden burst of noise into your path. In those moments, most people react instantly, without awareness, like a match flaring the second it is struck. But Buddhist wisdom and the teachings of many mindful traditions reveal a profound secret. Between the stimulus and your response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom, your power, and your peace. For most, that space feels so small it seems invisible. Something happens, and the reaction feels automatic. Someone criticizes you, and you snap back. You hear bad news, and panic sets in before you can think. The phone rings with an unknown number, and worry rises before you even answer. This automatic reaction is what keeps us trapped in cycles of anger, anxiety, and restlessness. But the truth is that space, no matter how small it feels, can be widened. And when you widen it, you gain the ability to choose not just what you do, but who you are in that moment. Strengthening this space is like training a muscle. At first, it may feel weak, and you may still react impulsively most of the time, but with practice, the space grows. It transforms from a split second into a pause you can feel, into a calm breath, into a moment of full awareness in which you can decide your response with clarity instead of reflex. This space is not about hesitation or fear, it is about freedom. Freedom from being ruled by the noise of your own thoughts and emotions. Freedom from letting other people's words decide your state of mind. Freedom from being pulled into conflict or chaos just because it appears in front of you. The wider this space becomes, the more life starts to feel like something you are guiding, rather than something that is dragging you along. In Buddhism, this space is cultivated through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches you to be aware of what is happening, both outside and inside you, in real time. You start to notice the sensations in your body when a stimulus appears, the quickening of your heartbeat, the tightening of your jaw, the rush of heat in your face. You start to see the thoughts forming. This is unfair. I need to defend myself. This is bad news. And instead of being swept away by them, you watch them. You breathe. You let the initial wave pass without acting on it. Imagine a pond when a stone is thrown into it. If the water is still, you can see the ripples clearly and watch them fade. But if you stir the water with your hands in a panic, you can't see anything clearly, and the disturbance lasts longer. The space between stimulus and response is the stillness of that pond. It's the clarity that comes from not immediately stirring your waters the moment something drops in. Strengthening this space also requires letting go of the idea that you must react to everything instantly. The modern world rewards speed. We feel pressured to answer messages immediately, give opinions right away, and make decisions on the spot. But speed is often the enemy of wisdom. If you can slow yourself down, even just for a breath, you give your mind the chance to align with your values instead of your impulses. In practical terms, this can look like taking one slow breath before answering a question, counting to 3 before replying to an angry message, looking away from your phone for a few moments before responding to a notification. These pauses may seem small, but they are training your mind to expand that crucial space. Over time, what was once a forced pause becomes a natural moment of presence before every important action. You will notice that in this space, your choices improve. Instead of reacting with anger, you might respond with curiosity. Why is this person upset? Instead of reacting with fear, you might respond with problem solving. What can I do right now to make this better? Instead of reacting with defensiveness, you might respond with silence, allowing the tension to dissolve. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions, it means you stop letting them control the steering wheel. One of the great truths of Buddhist teaching is that the mind can be trained to respond rather than react. A reaction is automatic, unconscious, and often tied to old habits or pain. A response is chosen, conscious, and aligned with your deepest intentions. The space between stimulus and response is where this choice lives. Think of a time when you regretted something you said or did. If you trace it back, you'll often find there was a moment, a small space, when you could have chosen differently. Maybe you felt the heat of anger rising but spoke before it cooled. Maybe you sensed the anxiety in your chest but agreed to something you didn't want. The work now is to recognize those moments in real time and use them to your advantage. In Buddhist monasteries, monks often train in environments that challenge their calm, not to make life harder, but to strengthen this very space. They might be interrupted during meditation, asked difficult questions, or tasked with work that tests their patience. Each interruption becomes a chance to notice the stimulus, feel the urge to react, and then choose a calmer, wiser response. This is not just discipline, it is liberation. The beauty of strengthening this space is that it doesn't just make you calmer, it changes the quality of your relationships. When you stop reacting impulsively, conversations become less combative, conflicts become easier to resolve, and trust begins to grow. People feel safer around you because they know you will listen, think, and respond intentionally instead of lashing out or shutting down. The space between stimulus and response also protects your energy. Every time you react impulsively, you give away a piece of your mental and emotional strength to whatever triggered you. But when you pause, you decide where your energy goes. You might still choose to act strongly if the situation calls for it, but it will be a strength that comes from clarity, not from losing control. So, how do you strengthen this space every day? First, slow down your breathing whenever you notice a trigger. Breath is the bridge between your body and mind. Lengthening it immediately gives you more room to think. Second, train in low-pressure situations. Practice pausing before answering a simple question or before choosing your words in a friendly conversation. The skill will be ready when higher stakes moments come. Third, use awareness cues. Every time you feel a physical sign of stress, tight shoulders, quickened heartbeat, shallow breath, treat it as a reminder to pause. These cues are signals that your space is about to close. Catching them early keeps it open. Fourth, shift your inner question from "How do I react?" to "How do I want to respond?" This reframe turns an unconscious impulse into a conscious choice. The space between stimulus and response is your inner sanctuary. In it, you are not at the mercy of life's noise. You are the one deciding how that noise will shape you, if at all. The more you cultivate it, the more life slows down in a way that feels empowering. Challenges still come, people still speak harshly, unexpected events still happen, but you no longer meet them with a reflex. You meet them with yourself, fully present, steady, and free. And perhaps the most profound thing is this: the world doesn't need to get quieter for you to live this way. The noise can roar, the winds can rise, the world can spin, but inside that space, there is always room for stillness. You don't have to wait for life to calm down to find peace. You can create it in that pause, in that breath, in that moment when you choose not to be ruled by the stimulus, but to be guided by your truest self. Because in the end, the quality of your life is not decided by the number of stimuli you face. It is decided by what you do in the space between. And when that space becomes wide, strong, and steady, nothing in the world can make you lose your calm unless you choose to give it away. Transform resistance into flow. One of the deepest reasons why life's noise feels so overwhelming is because we fight it. Something happens, and our first instinct is to push back, to resist what is unfolding, to mentally argue with reality. Someone speaks in a tone we don't like, and immediately we tense up inside. Plans change unexpectedly, and frustration rushes in. We get stuck in traffic, hear bad news, or face an obstacle, and our mind begins its protest. This shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. Why now? This inner resistance is often louder than the actual event itself. The world makes a sound, but our reaction turns it into an echo chamber that amplifies the disturbance. Buddhism teaches that pain in life is inevitable, but suffering the mental and emotional storm that follows is often optional. The space between those two is where the practice of transforming resistance into flow begins. Flow is not passivity. It is not about giving up or letting life walk over you. It is about meeting reality as it is, without the extra layer of struggle that resistance adds. Imagine a river flowing downstream. If you fall into it and fight against the current, every movement takes enormous effort. But if you align yourself with the flow, you can still steer, you can still swim, but your movements are supported by the water instead of opposed to it. When we resist, we're essentially swimming upstream against what is. This drains our energy, clouds our clarity, and narrows our perspective. But when we release resistance and flow with the present moment, we gain access to a quieter, steadier kind of power, the power to respond skillfully instead of reacting blindly. The first step to transforming resistance into flow is awareness. Most people don't realize how much of their stress comes not from events themselves, but from their mental struggle against them. The noise of life often starts outside an argument in the next room, a siren in the street, a demand at work, but it grows louder inside because we keep feeding it with thoughts like, "I can't deal with this," or "It shouldn't be like this." Awareness means catching yourself in that moment and naming what's happening. I am resisting. When you see resistance clearly, you create the possibility of choice. You can either continue wrestling with what is, or you can shift into flow. This doesn't mean you approve of everything that happens. It means you acknowledge that it is happening, and you choose to meet it without adding more friction. In Buddhist practice, this is closely related to the principle of acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is strength. Weakness is letting your emotions control you until you exhaust yourself. Strength is standing firmly in the reality of the moment without letting it drown your calm. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions come from a place of clarity rather than from the chaos of resistance. One way to practice this is to consciously soften your body when you feel resistance rising. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the stiffness in your chest. As soon as you feel it, take a slow breath and relax those areas. The body and mind are connected when you release physical resistance. Mental resistance often begins to ease as well. Another method is to ask yourself, can I allow this moment to be as it is, just for now? You're not committing to liking it forever. You're simply letting it exist without a fight in this moment. This short pause often reduces the emotional charge enough for you to think more clearly about what to do next. Transforming resistance into flow also means becoming curious instead of combative. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this moment showing me?" Every difficulty, every noise, every disruption has something to reveal about your habits, your triggers, your values, your capacity for patience. Curiosity opens a door that resistance keeps locked. In the flow state, you can still set boundaries, say no, and take action to change what can be changed, but you do so without the inner war. Think of a martial artist who uses an opponent's energy to their advantage, redirecting it instead of meeting it with brute force. Flow works the same way. You move with the energy of the moment, instead of locking yourself in a battle you cannot win. There is a Zen story about a master who was crossing a river in a small boat. Another boat, drifting downstream, collided with his. At first, the master felt irritation rise, ready to shout at the careless boatman. But then he saw that the other boat was empty. It had simply been carried by the current. In an instant, his anger dissolved. He realized that most of the boats that bump into us in life, rude comments, delays, inconveniences, are empty. They are not personal attacks. They are simply the current of life. When you understand this, you stop wasting energy fighting what is simply drifting past. Flow also requires trust, not necessarily trust in a perfect outcome, but trust in your ability to navigate whatever happens. When you resist, it's often because you're afraid you can't handle the situation unless it changes immediately. But when you remember that you have handled challenges before, that you can adapt, that you can breathe even in the middle of chaos, you become less desperate to control everything. Practicing flow in daily life can start small. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of tensing up and clinging to anger, notice your breath and let them pass. When a meeting starts late, use the time to stretch your body or observe your surroundings. When the noise of life feels unbearable, remind yourself that the sound is just part of this moment. It will pass, as all moments do. Over time, flowing with life's noise becomes second nature. You find that you no longer waste as much energy on resistance. Your mind feels lighter because it's not carrying constant battles. And paradoxically, when you stop fighting the moment, you often find it easier to influence it. People respond better to calm, steady energy than to tense, reactive force. In this way, transforming resistance into flow is not just about protecting your own peace, it's about becoming a point of peace in the world. Your ability to remain steady when others are swept up in noise creates a ripple effect. In a heated conversation, your calm can bring down the volume. In a chaotic environment, your steadiness can remind others that panic is not the only option. The river of life will never stop moving. There will always be unexpected turns, sudden currents, and occasional storms. But when you stop thrashing against the water and start moving with it, the journey changes completely. The noise is still there, but it no longer feels like an attack. It feels like part of the rhythm. And in that rhythm, you find not only calm, but a quiet joy that comes from knowing you are no longer at war with the present moment. When you live in flow, the world doesn't have to become perfectly still for you to feel peace. You carry stillness into it, moving as the river moves, flexible, aware, and free. This is the strength that outlasts every storm, the kind of strength that makes the loudest world feel quiet inside your heart. Find the calm eye within every storm. Life will always contain storms, moments when events spin faster than you would like, when voices rise, when challenges pile on each other without giving you space to breathe. These storms may come in the form of external chaos, such as an argument, a crisis at work, or a sudden loss. They may also come as inner storms, waves of anxiety, sadness, anger, or self-doubt that seem to crash endlessly inside your mind. In either case, the instinct for most of us is the same: to get rid of the storm as quickly as possible. We want the noise to stop, the problem to vanish, the feelings to go away. But in nature, every storm has a center, the eye, a place of stillness surrounded by swirling winds. Pilots who have flown into the eyes of hurricanes describe an almost surreal calm. Blue sky above, quiet air, even sunshine breaking through, while walls of fierce weather spin on every side. In Buddhist practice, there is a parallel to this image. No matter how loud or chaotic the world becomes, there is always a calm center within you, an inner eye of the storm, waiting to be entered. The key is not to destroy the storm, but to learn how to find your way into that still point and remain there while the winds pass. The eye of the storm is not denial. It does not mean pretending that nothing is wrong or blocking out reality. It means holding a steady awareness that even in the middle of difficulty, there is a part of you that is untouched, clear, and capable of making wise choices. This is the part of you that is not tossed about by every sound, every emotion, every unexpected turn. This is your unshakable core. Finding that calm center starts with the recognition that storms are a natural part of life. Just as weather patterns shift from sun to rain to thunder and back again, your days will move between ease and challenge. Resisting this truth, demanding that life always be smooth, only makes you more vulnerable when storms arrive. Acceptance doesn't make the winds weaker, but it keeps you from wasting energy shouting at the sky. It allows you to turn inward and search for the eye instead of running endlessly from the storm. To reach that inner eye, you first have to notice when you've been swept up by the storm's winds. This is often felt physically. Your shoulders tense, your jaw tightens, your breathing becomes shallow. Emotionally, you may feel on edge, easily triggered, impatient, or scattered. Mentally, you find yourself replaying problems, imagining worst-case scenarios, or jumping from one worry to another without pause. These are signs that the storm has pulled you into its outer walls. The moment you notice these signs, you have a choice: to continue being spun around or to begin moving toward the calm. Moving toward the eye begins with anchoring yourself in something steady. In Buddhist meditation, the breath is often used as this anchor because it is always with you, always happening in the present moment. By placing your attention on the breath, you step out of the swirl of thoughts and sounds, even if only for a moment. One slow inhale and exhale may not change the storm outside, but it plants your feet on the path to the center. From there, you can deepen the calm by expanding your awareness beyond the immediate noise. In a heated conversation, you might notice not just the words, but the pauses between them, the tone of voice, the rhythm of speech. In a stressful situation, you might notice not just the pressure, but also the sensations in your hands, the weight of your body in the chair, the sounds in the background. These small shifts pull your attention out of the cyclone of reactivity and into a wider perspective. The storm is still there, but you are no longer being thrown around blindly. You are watching it from a place of stability. An important truth to remember is that storms are temporary. No matter how loud they feel, no matter how forcefully they shake your life, they will pass. This is not just optimism, it is the nature of all things. Everything that rises will fall. Every wave will crest and break. Every wind will eventually die down. In Buddhist teaching, this is impermanence, and it is one of the most liberating realizations you can carry. When you know the storm will pass, you no longer feel the same desperation to fight it at every turn. You can focus on keeping your balance until the sky clears. Once you've found the calm eye within, you begin to see that you have choices in the storm. You can speak without shouting, act without panicking, think without spiraling. You might decide to take action to address the problem, or you might choose to wait and observe before moving. Both are valid. What matters is that the choice comes from stillness, not from being pushed by the winds. Training yourself to find this calm eye takes practice. You can start with small storms, moments of frustration in traffic, minor disagreements, unexpected changes to your plans. In those times, practice pausing, breathing, and imagining yourself stepping into a quiet center inside you. With time, you'll be able to do the same in bigger storms, conflicts, crises, moments of deep uncertainty. The more you practice, the more you'll notice that the eye of the storm isn't a place you have to travel to. It's always there, at the core of your being. It's not built in the moment of crisis. It's uncovered. You may have covered it up with habits of worry, with layers of reactivity, with years of letting the winds push you around, but it has never left. Every moment of mindfulness, every act of conscious breathing, every choice to pause instead of react, clears the path to it a little more. And there's something even more remarkable when you stay in your calm center. You can influence the storm around you. Your steadiness becomes a point of reference for others, a reminder that it's possible to stand firm without fighting every gust of wind. In group situations, one calm presence can shift the entire dynamic, slowing the spin and allowing others to find their footing. In this way, your inner peace not only protects you, it ripples outward into the world. Life will keep sending storms. Sometimes they will be brief and light. Other times they will be fierce and long-lasting. But you are not powerless in the face of them. You don't have to wait for them to end to feel peace. You can step into the calm eye at any moment, breathe there, think clearly there, and choose your next step from that place. The storm may roar, the winds may whip, the rain may pound, but in the eye, you are still. You are present, you are free. And when you know how to return to that stillness, no storm, no matter how loud, can truly take you away from yourself. See every disruption as a teacher. Most of us are conditioned to see disruptions as obstacles, things that get in the way of what we're trying to do, moments that ruin our plans, sounds that break our focus, events that pull us away from the peace we want. A conversation interrupted by a sudden noise, a carefully planned day overturned by unexpected demands, a train of thought scattered by someone calling your name. Our instinct is to feel irritation, to wish the disruption would go away so we can get back to our real life. But in Buddhist practice, life is not separated into real life and disruptions. Everything is the path. Every single moment, whether smooth or rough, is an opportunity to deepen awareness, to practice patience, to cultivate calm. The sounds, interruptions, and unexpected turns that we label as disturbances are often the very moments that can teach us the most if we are willing to see them differently. Think of it this way. When you meditate in a perfectly quiet room, it is easy to feel peaceful. The environment supports your stillness. But what happens when a dog barks, a car alarm goes off, or footsteps echo in the hallway? The first reaction is usually resistance. This is ruining my meditation. But in reality, this is the meditation. The noise is the practice. It is the opportunity to meet reality as it is, rather than as you wish it to be. In this sense, every disruption is a teacher disguised as an inconvenience. Some teach you patience by asking you to endure what you cannot change. Some teach you humility by showing you that you are not in full control. Some teach you flexibility by requiring you to adapt. Some teach you detachment by reminding you to let go of rigid expectations. If you only seek peace when nothing disturbs you, your calm will always be fragile. But if you learn from the very things that disrupt you, your calm becomes unshakable. To begin seeing disruptions as teachers, you have to first notice your automatic response. Do you tense your body? Do you sigh? Do you feel a flash of anger? Awareness of your reaction is the first step, because it is in that moment you can shift from reacting to learning. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" you can ask, "What is this moment teaching me?" For example, a sudden loud sound might be teaching you to return to the present, to anchor yourself in your breath despite external change. An unexpected interruption to your work might be teaching you to release your attachment to perfect control. A disagreement in conversation might be teaching you to listen more deeply without rushing to defend yourself. Buddhist teachings often use nature as a mirror for life. Imagine sitting beside a flowing river. Leaves, sticks, and debris float by. Sometimes the water is calm and smooth. Sometimes it is rough and carries more than you expect. If you only enjoy the river when it is perfectly still, you miss the beauty of its movement and change. In the same way, if you only welcome life when it follows your plan, you miss the richness of what it's offering you in the moments of change. Some of the greatest growth comes from moments we didn't plan for and wouldn't have chosen. A delay forces you to slow down. A noise forces you to focus more deeply. An unexpected request forces you to test your boundaries or your generosity. Without disruptions, our patience and adaptability remain theoretical. They are only concepts we talk about. With disruptions, they become living skills we can embody. There's a Zen story about a monk sweeping the temple grounds. A young student came up and accidentally knocked over a small pile of leaves the monk had gathered. The student quickly apologized, expecting the monk to be annoyed, but the monk simply smiled and said, "The wind comes, the wind goes. I sweep again." This response wasn't about ignoring the disruption, it was about accepting it as part of the natural flow and continuing with calm. The lesson in that moment was not about keeping the leaves in place. It was about keeping the mind steady, regardless of where the leaves went. One of the ways to embrace disruptions as teachers is to drop the idea that there is a perfect version of how things should go. Perfection is an illusion. Even if you controlled every detail of your environment, life would still deliver surprises. When you expect and welcome the unexpected, disruptions stop feeling like intrusions and start feeling like opportunities. You can even use disruptions to strengthen specific qualities. Patience. When someone is late, see it as a chance to practice waiting without resentment. Adaptability. When plans change suddenly, see it as training for moving with life instead of against it. Presence. When noise erupts, use it as a bell to bring your attention back to this moment. Compassion. When someone interrupts you, remember they might be acting from their own storm of thoughts or needs. Over time, you may find yourself less disturbed by disturbances. What once felt like a frustrating interruption now feels like a friendly challenge. You begin to see that the world is not obligated to arrange itself for your comfort, and that your comfort doesn't have to depend on the world's arrangement. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires mindfulness and repeated practice. But each time you meet a disruption with curiosity instead of irritation, you strengthen a profound inner skill, the ability to remain steady when the ground shifts beneath you. And here is the paradox. The more you see disruptions as teachers, the less they disrupt you. A sound is just a sound. An interruption is just a moment. A change of plans is just life being life. The emotional charge fades because you're no longer telling yourself that peace depends on avoiding these things. You are learning from them, growing with them, and letting them shape you into someone who can stay calm anywhere, anytime. In this way, the world becomes your meditation hall. Every honking horn, every sudden change, every loud voice becomes part of your training. Instead of wishing the noise away, you bow to it, thank it for the lesson, and continue walking your path steadier, clearer, and more at peace than before. Become the mountain amid the wind. In nature, mountains are a paradox. They are exposed to the fiercest winds, the heaviest rains, the hottest sun, and the coldest snow, yet they remain unmoved. Day after day, year after year, storms come and go, but the mountain holds its ground. It does not chase the sunlight when clouds cover it. It does not flee when the wind howls through its peaks. It simply is steady, rooted, unshaken. In Buddhist practice, the image of a mountain is often used to symbolize the mind trained in stillness. To become the mountain amid the wind means to live with such steadiness that even when life's noise and chaos surround you, you remain centered in your own grounded presence. It does not mean you are numb or indifferent. It means you are deeply anchored in your true nature, so the passing weather of life cannot uproot you. The wind, in this metaphor, is everything that tries to pull you away from your center, the criticism that stirs your pride, the praise that swells your ego, the gossip that invites your reaction, the fear that tempts you into panic, the sudden changes that push against your plans. Most people live as leaves in the wind, tossed and turned by whatever blows their way. But you can train yourself to live as the mountain, allowing the winds to pass without losing your shape. The first step to becoming the mountain is to know your ground. Just as a mountain rises from deep, solid earth, your stillness must be rooted in something unshakable. In Buddhism, this foundation is awareness, the simple, steady knowing of what is happening in the present moment. Without awareness, the wind catches you before you even notice, and you find yourself pulled into reaction. With awareness, you can feel the first push of the wind and choose to stay rooted. You can practice this awareness anywhere. Notice your body in this moment. Feel the weight of your feet or the contact of your body with the chair. Feel the breath moving in and out. This is your ground. When noise comes, whether it's the literal noise of the outside world or the mental noise of your thoughts, you return to this ground before you act. Like a mountain, you are aware of the wind, but you don't lean into it or run from it. The second step is to stop believing that the wind must disappear for you to feel at peace. The mountain does not wait for perfect weather to stand tall. It remains tall through all weather. Similarly, you cannot wait for life to become quiet, to begin practicing calm. The calm must live inside you regardless of what swirls around you. This means giving up the habit of postponing peace until things settle down. If you make peace conditional, it will always be delayed. To strengthen your mountain-like steadiness, you must also let go of over-identifying with every gust of emotion or thought that arises. The mountain has trees that sway, snow that melts, streams that shift, but its core remains unmoved. In the same way, your feelings and thoughts will move and change. You can notice them, honor them, and allow them to pass without mistaking them for the essence of who you are. There is a Buddhist meditation called mountain meditation, where you sit and imagine yourself as a mountain. Your spine is the solid backbone of stone. Your mind is the deep stillness of the mountain's heart. Your breath is the gentle air that moves around you. Storms pass across your surface, wind, rain, snow, but your base remains strong and unshaken. This visualization is more than poetic. It trains the nervous system to feel steady even when challenged. The winds of life are not always harsh. Sometimes they are seductive flattery, comfort, temporary pleasures. These too can pull you from your center if you lean too far into them. The mountain is unmoved, not only by storms, but also by the soft breezes. In the same way, inner steadiness means not chasing after every good feeling as if your happiness depends on it. This doesn't mean rejecting joy. It means receiving it fully when it comes, but not grasping so tightly that you lose balance when it changes. When you live as the mountain, people will notice. They may still bring you their noise, their urgency, their storms, but they will also begin to feel that they cannot easily shake you. Your presence becomes a point of stability in their own storms. Without preaching, without telling them what to do, you show by your being that it is possible to stand in the wind without losing yourself. This does not happen overnight. A mountain is formed over time, layer by layer, pressure by pressure, through both stillness and upheaval. Your own inner mountain is formed in the same way through daily practice, through moments of holding steady when you want to react, through returning to your center again and again after being blown off course. Each time you do this, you add another layer of stone to your foundation. There will be times when the wind feels stronger than you, times when you are pulled into reaction before you realize it. This is natural. The practice is not about never moving, it is about always returning. Even mountains shift over centuries, but their essence remains. When you find yourself caught in the wind, don't judge yourself. Simply return to your ground, to your breath, to your awareness. Every return makes you steadier. The most liberating part of becoming the mountain is realizing that the wind is not your enemy. It is simply life's movement. It shapes you, tests you, teaches you where your roots are weak and where they are strong. Without the wind, the mountain would never know its own strength. In the same way, without challenges, you would never discover the depth of your own calm. So the next time life blows hard against you, when the world is loud, when your emotions surge, when events spin out of your control, pause and remember the mountain. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath as your steady anchor. Let the wind pass over you without deciding who you are. Stand tall in your awareness, in your presence, in your truth. Guard the doorway to your mind. In Buddhism, the mind is often compared to a home. Just as you decide who you let into your house, you can decide what you allow into your mind. If you leave the doors and windows of your home wide open without awareness, anything can walk in: strangers, thieves, wild animals, and they may leave behind chaos, clutter, and damage. In the same way, if you do not consciously guard the doorway to your mind, the noise of the world can walk straight in, unsettle your peace, and take root in your thoughts before you even notice. Guarding the mind is not about building walls so thick that nothing ever enters. That would lead to isolation, fear, and a narrowing of life. Instead, it is about mindful gatekeeping, being aware of what you allow to enter, and choosing what supports your well-being, clarity, and compassion. It means understanding that not every sound, not every opinion, not every piece of news, not every story deserves your mental space. In the modern world, guarding your mind is harder than ever. In earlier times, you had to physically go somewhere to encounter noise, a busy market, a crowded gathering. Now, with a single device in your pocket, the entire world's noise can reach you instantly. News, opinions, images, messages, hundreds of mental visitors knock at the door of your mind every hour. Without awareness, you may find yourself reacting to events thousands of miles away, carrying arguments from strangers you will never meet, or replaying scenes you only saw for a few seconds on a screen. Buddhist practice teaches that we become what we repeatedly allow into our awareness. Just as the food you eat becomes part of your body, the impressions you take in become part of your mind. If you constantly consume anger, fear, gossip, or meaningless distraction, these will shape your thoughts, your mood, and eventually your actions. Guarding the doorway means being intentional about this consumption, choosing wisely what you let in. The first step in guarding the mind is noticing the state of your inner home right now. Is it cluttered with worries that aren't yours? Is it filled with echoes of other people's voices, judgments, and fears? Are there old memories, grudges, or false beliefs still taking up space? Awareness of the current state helps you see which visitors you've been hosting without realizing it. The second step is setting boundaries for what enters. This doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means being conscious of how and when you engage with it. For example, you might decide not to check the news first thing in the morning, allowing your mind to start the day in calm instead of in crisis. You might limit your time on social media, or choose to follow only accounts that inspire and uplift rather than provoke and drain. You might become more selective about the conversations you engage in, steering away from gossip or constant negativity. Guarding the mind also means being careful with the internal doorway, the thoughts that arise from within. Not every thought that appears deserves your belief or attention. The mind produces thoughts. The way the sky produces clouds, they come and go, and not all of them are helpful. Mindfulness allows you to notice thoughts without letting them take over. You can greet them like visitors at the door, acknowledge them, see if they have something valuable to offer, and if not, politely send them on their way. This kind of mindful gatekeeping doesn't make you cold or disconnected. It makes you more available to what truly matters. If your mental space is not constantly crowded by noise, you have room for clarity, compassion, and deep focus. You can listen more fully to the people you love. You can notice the details of life that bring quiet joy. You can act from wisdom instead of from the reflexes shaped by whatever happened to wander into your awareness. There's a story of a monk who kept his hut spotless and simple. When asked why he was so meticulous, he said, "Because when the space is clear, I can see what enters." The same is true for the mind. If you clear out the mental clutter, it becomes much easier to notice when something unhelpful tries to enter. You catch it early, before it has time to spread its influence. To strengthen your ability to guard the mind, you can create small daily rituals. Begin your day with a moment of quiet before exposing yourself to the world's noise. Perhaps a few breaths, a short meditation, or simply sitting with a cup of tea in silence. Throughout the day, pause and check in. What has entered my mind in the last hour? Is it helping me or harming me? In the evening, reflect on the mental guests you've hosted that day and consciously release any that do not serve your well-being. Guarding the mind also means learning the art of saying no, not just to people, but to information, habits, and patterns that harm your peace. This no is not harsh or defensive. It is a gentle but firm recognition that your mental space is sacred. You are responsible for what you allow to live there. You can decline to participate in certain discussions, decline to expose yourself to endless noise, decline to give your attention to things that will only drain you. Over time, guarding the mind becomes less about effort and more about natural preference. Just as a person who eats nourishing food loses the taste for what makes them feel unwell, a person who fills their mind with peace, clarity, and kindness loses the appetite for constant chaos. The loud, aggressive, and draining no longer feel normal. They feel like unwelcome intrusions, and you find yourself naturally turning away from them. This practice doesn't mean you avoid all difficulty. Life will still bring challenges, uncomfortable truths, and moments that test you. But when you've guarded your mind well, you meet these moments from a place of strength, not exhaustion. You have the clarity to decide how to engage, and the resilience to stay grounded while you do. In time, you will find that guarding the doorway to your mind is not about shutting the world out. It is about creating a space within yourself where you can meet the world on your own terms. You can open the door widely to what nourishes you and close it gently to what harms you. You can live in the world without letting the world live in you. And when you live this way, even in the noisiest environments, your mind remains like a well-kept home, spacious, peaceful, and ready to welcome the right kind of guests. The noise may knock, but you decide whether it enters, and in that choice lies one of the greatest freedoms you will ever know. Release the illusion of control over the outer world. One of the most exhausting struggles a person can engage in is the attempt to control everything outside themselves. The behavior of others, the unfolding of events, the timing of outcomes, the presence or absence of noise, the way life should go according to their plan. This struggle is not only endless but also unwinnable, because the outer world is, by its very nature, fluid, unpredictable, and beyond the reach of your complete control. Buddhist teachings point out that clinging to the illusion of control over external circumstances is a major source of human suffering. It is an illusion because even in the moments when things appear to be under your command, that control is temporary. Conditions change, people change, the weather changes, your own body changes, You can influence many things, but to believe you can fix life into a permanent shape that suits your preferences is to wage war against the nature of reality itself. When you live with this illusion, every disruption feels like a personal failure. If someone speaks harshly to you, you feel it is your job to make them speak differently. If traffic slows you down, you feel compelled to somehow fix it in your mind by growing impatient or fuming at the delay. If the world is noisy, you feel that your peace depends on silencing it. And so you spend your energy trying to bend the outer world into a shape that feels comfortable, never realizing that this very habit is the reason your calm is so easily stolen. The truth, as the Buddha taught, is that suffering is not caused by the outer conditions themselves, but by your attachment to them being a certain way. The more conditions you require to be just right for you to feel peace, the more fragile your peace becomes. But when you release the demand for life to obey your script, something remarkable happens. You stop being at the mercy of every change, and you start discovering the steady calm that exists beneath the constant movement of the world. Releasing the illusion of control does not mean becoming passive or giving up on influencing the world for the better. It means acting with clarity and purpose while accepting that you do not own the final outcome. You can plant seeds, water them, give them the best sunlight, but you cannot command the rain to fall or the sun to shine exactly when you want. Your part is the tending, nature decides the rest. In daily life, this means learning to distinguish between what is within your sphere of influence and what is not. Your actions, your words, your choices, your effort, these are yours to shape. The weather, the passage of time, the decisions of others, the randomness of events, these are not. When you confuse the two, you waste your energy trying to push rivers in the opposite direction of their current. When you know the difference, you can place your energy where it matters and let the rest flow as it will. This perspective transforms your relationship with noise. Imagine you are in a busy street market. Sellers are calling out, people are bartering loudly, footsteps and voices overlap in a constant hum. You could try to make everyone lower their voices, or you could accept that the noise is part of the market's nature and adjust yourself instead, walking mindfully, focusing on the task at hand, letting the sound wash over you without clinging to it. The first approach will leave you tense and frustrated. The second allows you to move through the same environment with ease. One way to begin loosening the grip of control is to observe your reactions when things don't go according to plan. Notice the immediate mental commentary. This shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't act like that. This isn't fair. These thoughts are the mind's way of insisting that the world follow its rules. In that moment, ask yourself, am I upset because of what happened, or because I believe it shouldn't have happened? More often than not, it is the second. Buddhist practice invites you to meet each moment as it is, without adding the burden of should or should not. This doesn't mean you don't prefer certain outcomes or take action to improve situations. It means you stop making your peace conditional on the outcome. You give your best effort, and then you release the result. You engage fully in the present, and you let the future unfold as it will. There is a teaching known as acting without attachment. It means doing what needs to be done, not because you can guarantee the result, but because it is the right thing to do in this moment. A farmer tills the soil not because he can force the harvest, but because tending the field is his way of living in harmony with life. When you live this way, every action becomes an offering rather than a transaction. You no longer live in constant tension, waiting to see if the world will repay you exactly as you wish. Releasing control also deepens your resilience. When you stop demanding that life match your plan, you become adaptable. If the road ahead is blocked, you find another path. If someone acts in a way you didn't expect, you adjust without losing yourself. If noise rises around you, you focus on your breath instead of wasting energy on trying to silence everything. Your strength comes from your ability to meet reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. One of the most liberating realizations is that the outer world has always been moving, shifting, and changing without your permission. This movement is not a problem, it is the nature of life. Clouds move across the sky without asking, rivers flow without pausing for your schedule. Seasons change whether you are ready or not. When you align yourself with this truth, you no longer take change as a personal offense. You see it as part of the endless dance of existence. In letting go of control, you also let go of the need to constantly defend your peace. Instead of guarding it with force, you carry it with you as something the world cannot take. You discover that calm is not fragile when it is rooted in acceptance. It is only fragile when it depends on external conditions staying the same. This doesn't happen in one leap, it happens in small moments. You notice when you are tightening your grip, when you are trying to manage every detail, when you are holding your peace hostage to, if only this changes. You pause, you breathe. You remind yourself, this is not mine to control. This is mine to meet with presence. In time, you will find that you can stand in the middle of noise, chaos, and uncertainty with a surprising sense of ease. The outer world continues to move as it always has, but you are no longer pulled into every shift. You act where you can, release where you must, and trust that life is far too vast to be contained within your control, and that this is not a loss, but a freedom. When you release the illusion of control over the outer world, you step into the one place where true mastery is possible, the inner world. And in mastering yourself, your thoughts, your responses, your awareness, you find a peace that no storm, no noise, no unexpected turn can take away. Let go of the illusion of control. We spend so much of our lives trying to control everything around us, our schedules, our finances, our relationships, other people's opinions, even the way the future unfolds. We cling to the belief that if we can just arrange things perfectly, if we can just keep every moving piece in place, then life will be calm and predictable. But life is not a machine to be controlled. It is a river to be moved with. The more we try to control it, the more it slips through our fingers, leaving us frustrated, anxious, and exhausted. In Buddhism, this attachment to control is seen as one of the great sources of suffering. Why? Because the very nature of reality is impermanence. Everything changes, people change, seasons change, circumstances change, and even our own minds change. If we believe we can freeze things into place, we are fighting against the natural flow of existence, and that fight will always leave us weary. Think about the times when you've been most stressed. Was it because you simply didn't have enough strength to handle a situation, or was it because you were gripping so tightly to the way you wanted things to be? When we insist on controlling every detail, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. The truth is, no matter how hard we try, we cannot control how others think, feel, or behave. We cannot control the unexpected events that arrive without warning. We cannot control the timing of life's lessons. What we can control is our inner landscape, our thoughts, our responses, our perspective, our presence in each moment. This is why the Buddha taught that true freedom does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering the self. When you release your grip on the illusion of control, you begin to find peace, not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you no longer demand that it be any different than it is. Imagine standing in the middle of a rushing river. If you fight the current, pushing against the water with all your might, you will quickly tire, and the force will overwhelm you. But if you allow yourself to float, trusting that the current will carry you to where you need to go, you find that you can breathe again. You may not know exactly where the river leads, but you learn to trust the journey. This is the essence of letting go, the understanding that life does not need your constant interference to unfold as it should. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up responsibility or becoming passive. It means taking responsibility for what is truly yours, your actions, your choices, your words, and leaving the rest to the natural order of things. It means understanding that some situations cannot be solved immediately, and that patience is a form of wisdom. It means recognizing that the future is not a puzzle you need to solve in advance. It is a reality that will arrive one moment at a time, just as the present moment once did. When you begin to loosen your grip, you discover something beautiful. Life often works out in ways you could not have planned. Sometimes what you thought was a setback becomes the very thing that opens a new path. Sometimes a relationship that didn't go as you hoped clears space for one that is far more aligned with your spirit. Sometimes a delay you fought against gives you the time you didn't know you needed to grow. These moments show you that your limited vision is not the only way, and that letting life breathe is often the best gift you can give yourself. This practice is not always easy, especially if you are someone who has relied on control as a way to feel safe. But here is the truth. Safety that depends on everything going your way is not safety at all. It is a fragile illusion, ready to crumble at the first sign of change. True safety comes from the trust that you can handle whatever comes, even if it is not what you planned. You can begin this practice in small, simple ways. The next time a plan changes at the last minute, instead of reacting with frustration, take a breath and say, "This is not what I expected, but perhaps it's exactly what is needed." The next time someone acts in a way you do not understand, instead of trying to change them, observe your own feelings and choose a response that aligns with your values. The next time the future feels uncertain, instead of scrambling to control every variable, focus on doing the next right thing in the present moment. As you do this more often, you will notice a shift. The noise of life will still be there, the deadlines, the conversations, the unexpected twists, but you will no longer be tangled in it. You will be like the sky that remains vast and still while the clouds pass through. You will understand that you are not here to control the clouds, you are here to witness the sky. And perhaps the most profound realization of all is this: the less you try to control life, the more it opens itself to you. You will begin to notice opportunities and blessings you once missed because you were too busy forcing your own path. You will feel lighter, freer, and more present, because your energy is no longer trapped in an unwinnable fight against change. You will understand that life was never meant to be controlled, it was meant to be lived. When you release control, you are not losing power, you are reclaiming it. You are stepping into a deeper wisdom, one that knows peace is not found in bending the world to your will, but in bending your will toward harmony with the world. And in that harmony, you will find the calm you've been searching for, even when life gets loud. Let go of the illusion that you must control everything. One of the greatest causes of mental restlessness is the silent belief that if you could just control people's opinions, control every outcome, control the pace of life, you could finally feel at peace. But Buddhism teaches us that this is an illusion, a mirage that will always disappear the closer you try to get to it. Life, by its very nature, is fluid and unpredictable. The seasons change without asking you. People's moods shift without warning. Circumstances turn in ways you could never plan for. And the truth is, the more you cling to the need for control, the more your mind tightens like a fist that cannot hold water. You tire yourself out trying to grasp something that is, by its very nature, ungraspable. Letting go does not mean you become careless or passive. It means you understand the difference between what is within your influence and what is not, and you direct your energy wisely. Imagine standing in a river and trying to stop the flow with your hands. The harder you press against the current, the more exhausted you become. But if you learn to float, to navigate, to move with the current instead of against it, you find that you can travel far with less effort. The same is true in life. When you release the obsession with controlling every detail, you free up energy for what truly matters: your attitude, your actions, and your presence in the moment. Control is rooted in fear, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of failure, the fear of discomfort. We try to control because we believe that if we can just predict and manage every variable, we can avoid pain. But here is the paradox: the more you try to avoid pain, the more anxious you become. And the more anxious you become, the more you feel the need to control. This cycle tightens like a rope around your peace. Letting go breaks that cycle. When you loosen your grip, you discover that you can endure life's unpredictability without it breaking you. You stop living in constant tension, and you begin to trust that you have the resilience to face whatever comes. The Buddha's teaching of impermanence, anicca, reminds us that nothing in life is fixed. Every situation, no matter how intense, will eventually change. Your sadness will soften, your joy will fade, your challenges will evolve into something else. When you understand impermanence deeply, you stop trying to freeze life in a single, perfect state. You begin to see that your peace cannot depend on everything staying exactly as you want it to be, because that is not the nature of reality. Peace comes when you can flow with change without being shattered by it. One way to practice this is through mindful surrender. When you face a situation that feels overwhelming, perhaps a delayed opportunity, a loved one's unexpected decision, or an outcome you desperately wanted but didn't get, pause and breathe deeply. Feel the urge to grasp, to fix, to control, and instead, let it soften. Remind yourself, this is beyond my control, but not beyond my ability to respond with wisdom. This simple shift in perspective turns frustration into acceptance, and acceptance into freedom. You move from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "How can I meet this moment as it is?" Letting go is also about trusting the natural intelligence of life. Just as a seed knows how to sprout, and the sun knows when to rise, life has its own unfolding that you don't always need to interfere with. Sometimes, the thing you think you must force into existence will arrive naturally when you stop pushing so hard. Other times, what you thought you needed will fall away to make space for something better. But you can only see this when you loosen your grip enough to let life breathe. In your relationships, letting go of control means allowing people to be who they are, not who you think they should be. It means replacing manipulation with understanding, demands with compassion, and fear with trust. It means realizing that love is not about ownership, but about presence. You can influence others through kindness, through example, through wisdom, but you cannot and should not control their every choice. The more you release your need to dictate, the more room there is for genuine connection. And in your personal goals, letting go of control means showing up with dedication while accepting that the results are not fully in your hands. You can prepare, you can train, you can give your best effort, but outcomes will still be shaped by countless factors beyond your reach. This is why the practice of non-attachment is so liberating. You commit fully to the process, but you do not chain your happiness to the result. Whether things go your way or not, your inner balance remains. The deepest freedom comes when you realize you never truly had control in the first place, only the illusion of it. And once you see that illusion for what it is, you stop wasting your energy wrestling with what you cannot change, and you start living with greater ease. You become like a tree in the wind, rooted but flexible. The wind can blow from any direction, yet you remain standing, swaying but unbroken. When life gets loud and chaotic, your instinct may be to clamp down and try to micromanage every detail, but this only traps you further in the noise. Instead, step back, breathe. Trust that you are strong enough to navigate the unknown without trying to control it all. When you let go, you don't lose power, you reclaim it, because true power is not in controlling the storm, but in being the calm within it. Learn to sit with discomfort without running away. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort at all costs. The moment they feel uneasy, they reach for something to distract them, scrolling on a phone, eating without hunger, filling their schedule so there's no space to feel. It's a natural instinct, because discomfort feels like a signal that something is wrong. But in truth, discomfort is not the enemy, it's a messenger. It's telling you something about yourself, about your attachments, about your fears. And if you always run from it, you never learn what it's here to teach. Buddhism teaches that suffering, dukkha, is part of the human experience, but not all suffering needs to be avoided. There's the suffering that harms you, and there's the discomfort that transforms you. The first warns you to step away from danger, but the second challenges you to grow beyond your current limits. The trouble is that most people can't tell the difference, because they have never practiced sitting with the second kind long enough to hear its lesson. Sitting with discomfort doesn't mean enjoying pain or seeking it out. It means allowing it to exist without immediately reacting to push it away. It means creating space between the feeling and your response. Imagine sitting in meditation and noticing your leg begin to ache. Your mind immediately screams, "Move, shift, get rid of this." But if you just breathe and stay still for a little while longer, you may find that the discomfort rises, peaks, and then begins to fade on its own. The same principle applies to emotional discomfort. That awkward silence in a conversation, that wave of sadness on a quiet night, that knot of anxiety before speaking up if you don't immediately run from them, you give yourself the chance to see that they are not as unbearable as you believed. Our modern world has trained us to avoid discomfort so much that even the smallest inconvenience feels unbearable. We've been conditioned for instant relief, instant food, instant entertainment, instant answers. But in chasing constant comfort, we've weakened our ability to handle life as it is. Discomfort tolerance is like a muscle. It grows only when you use it. And without it, the smallest setback can throw you off balance. But when you practice staying present with discomfort, you discover a deep resilience. You learn that you can endure far more than you thought. The Buddha often spoke about the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain itself, a natural part of life. The second arrow is your mental resistance to it, the fear, the resentment, the self-pity. If you can sit with discomfort, you can avoid shooting yourself with that second arrow. For example, imagine you lose a job. The first arrow is the loss itself. The second arrow is the thought, "I'm worthless, my life is over, I'll never recover." If you can feel the loss without attaching to those thoughts, you allow the pain to pass without doubling it. To build this ability, start small. Next time you feel restless, don't immediately reach for your phone. Just sit for a minute and notice the restlessness. When you feel a craving for something unhealthy, pause and breathe before deciding whether to act. When someone's words sting, resist the urge to fire back instantly. These little acts of staying with discomfort without reacting are like weightlifting for your inner strength. It's also important to understand that discomfort often hides opportunity. That awkward conversation you've been avoiding might lead to a deeper connection. That challenging new skill you're afraid to try might open doors you never imagined. That lonely evening might push you to discover parts of yourself you've been ignoring. Growth almost always lives on the other side of discomfort, and if you keep running, you never reach it. Buddhism teaches mindfulness as a way to face discomfort without drowning in it. When discomfort arises, instead of labeling it bad and pushing it away, observe it like a scientist. Where in your body do you feel it? Does it have a temperature, a texture, a rhythm? Does it change as you watch it? This shift from judgment to curiosity transforms discomfort from something threatening into something interesting. And once it becomes interesting, it loses much of its power to scare you. Remember too that discomfort is temporary. Even the most intense emotions will eventually fade if you let them. The trouble is that we often trap them by resisting them. It's like trying to push a beach ball underwater. The more force you use to keep it down, the more pressure builds until it bursts to the surface. But if you simply let it float, it will drift away naturally. Discomfort works the same way. Let it rise, feel it fully, and it will pass in its own time. On a deeper level, learning to sit with discomfort is an act of freedom. If you can only feel okay when life is exactly how you want it, you are a prisoner to circumstances. But if you can stay calm and grounded, even when things are uncomfortable, then nothing has the power to control you. You carry your peace within you, no matter where you are or what is happening. Think of a mountain. Storms may lash its slopes, winds may howl, snow may cover it. But the mountain remains still. It does not run from the storm, nor does it try to stop it. It simply endures until the weather passes. You can be like that mountain. The discomfort will come, but it will also go, and in the space between, you can remain steady. So, the next time life hands you a moment that feels tight, awkward, or painful, try this. Don't reach for the nearest escape. Don't rush to fix it or cover it. Just sit. Just breathe. Feel the edges of the discomfort without letting it define you. Watch how it shifts, how it moves, how it eventually fades. This is the practice. This is how you build the strength to live fully, without fear of the feelings that arise along the way. Because true peace is not found in eliminating discomfort from your life. It's found in no longer being afraid of it. Release the illusion of control over the world around you. One of the greatest sources of restlessness in life is our constant, unconscious attempt to control the world around us. We want people to behave the way we think they should. We want events to unfold exactly according to our plans, and we want life to go along without throwing unexpected storms in our path. Yet, no matter how much we try to grip the steering wheel of life, reality has its own flow, and it rarely asks for our permission. In Buddhism, much of the path to peace is about seeing clearly that this desire for control is an illusion, a mirage that tricks us into thinking we can bend the entire world to match the picture in our minds. The more we chase this illusion, the more frustration, anxiety, and resentment we invite into our hearts. When you believe you can control everything, every deviation feels like an attack. Someone cancels plans, and you get upset because it's not what you expected. The weather changes suddenly, and you feel disappointed because it doesn't match your perfect vision for the day. A loved one makes a choice you disagree with, and you feel anger rising because they didn't follow the script you had written in your mind. But the truth is, this endless tug-of-war with reality only exhausts you. It does not make life obey you. And here lies a profound truth. The world doesn't need to move according to your wishes for you to be at peace. Peace comes from moving with life, not from trying to force it into shape. Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering lies in clinging, grasping onto things, people, and outcomes, with the belief that we can keep them exactly as we like. But nothing in this world is fixed. Everything changes: relationships, seasons, moods, fortunes, even the cells in your body. You may think that control will give you stability, but in reality, it ties you to an exhausting cycle of disappointment, because the nature of life is impermanence. The moment you recognize that you cannot stop the waves, you learn the art of surfing them instead. Letting go of the illusion of control does not mean becoming passive or giving up on your responsibilities. It means showing up fully in life, doing what you can with wisdom and effort, but without chaining your happiness to a specific outcome. It means understanding the difference between influence and control. You can influence others with kindness, guidance, and example, but you cannot control their hearts. You can prepare for the future with planning and hard work, but you cannot control the winds of fate. You can care deeply for someone's health, but you cannot control every breath they take. When you stop confusing influence with control, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. This practice begins with awareness. The next time you feel frustration, ask yourself, what am I trying to control right now that is not mine to control? Often, you will find that the answer lies outside your direct reach. Maybe you are trying to control another person's opinion, the timing of an event, or the unfolding of a situation that is still in motion. By recognizing this, you can pause and release your grip. This is where the breath becomes a powerful ally. With every exhale, imagine letting go of the need to make things conform to your will. With every inhale, imagine drawing in acceptance, adaptability, and peace. The freedom that comes from releasing control is profound. When you stop fighting the river of life, you begin to notice its beauty. You hear the subtle music of the moment instead of being drowned out by the noise of your own demands. You become more compassionate toward others because you no longer measure them against your rigid expectations. You allow people to be as they are, which gives them the space to grow and the freedom to connect with you authentically. You find yourself less reactive because you no longer take every change as a personal insult from the universe. And here is the quiet paradox. By letting go of control, you actually become more effective in life. Why? Because your energy is no longer wasted on battles you cannot win. Instead, you can pour your focus into what is truly within your sphere of influence, your thoughts, your words, your actions. You become like a skilled sailor who cannot command the wind, but who can adjust the sails with mastery. You stop resisting what is and start skillfully responding to it. In Buddhist practice, this surrender is not about weakness, it is about wisdom. It is about understanding that life is vast, unpredictable, and filled with forces far beyond your grasp. And yet, you are still a part of it, still capable of shaping your path through mindful presence and right action. It is about realizing that your peace does not depend on the behavior of the world, but on the depth of your acceptance. The more you practice releasing control, the lighter you feel. It's as if you have been carrying a heavy rope, pulling with all your might against a force that never budged. When you finally let go, you realize the rope was burning your hands the whole time. You don't need to keep holding on. You can walk forward freely, without dragging the weight of impossible demands. When life gets loud, you will still feel the pull to control, but you can meet it with awareness. You can breathe deeply, release your grip, and remember that true strength lies not in forcing the world to bend, but in learning how to stand in harmony with its ever-changing flow. The Buddha taught that the path to liberation is not found in grasping, but in letting go. And when you release the illusion of control, you step closer to that liberation, free, unburdened, and unshaken, no matter what storms may come. Find peace in the space between what you want and what is. There is a quiet place, invisible to most, that lies between your desires and the reality in front of you. It is a space where the tension of wanting meets the truth of the present moment. Most people never stop long enough to notice this space because they are too busy chasing, grasping, and wishing life to be different. But in Buddhist practice, this space is not a void, it is a treasure. It is the doorway to acceptance, peace, and inner freedom. We all have a vision in our minds of how life should be. We imagine the job that would finally make us feel secure, the relationship that would make us feel complete, the circumstances that would remove all our worries. We convince ourselves that once reality matches this inner picture, we will finally be happy. But here's the paradox. Even when you get what you want, that feeling of satisfaction rarely lasts. The mind is quick to shift its focus to the next desire, the next condition that must be met before happiness is allowed to enter. This is the endless cycle of craving. The Buddha spoke about a cycle that traps us in suffering because it ties our peace to things outside of ourselves. When what you want and what is do not match, frustration arises. You resist the moment, you feel that something is wrong, and you live in constant tension. But when you learn to rest in that space between the two, you begin to see that peace does not require perfect alignment. It is possible to be at ease even when life is unfinished, even when your desires are unmet. This does not mean you stop dreaming or striving. It means you stop making your peace depend on outcomes. You learn to act with intention while holding the results lightly. You still work toward your goals, but you are no longer a prisoner to them. You can enjoy the steps on the path instead of endlessly postponing happiness until you reach some imagined destination. The first step toward finding this peace is awareness. Begin to notice when your mind says, things should be different. Maybe it happens when you wake up to rain instead of sunshine. Maybe it happens when someone interrupts your plans. Maybe it happens when you see someone else living a life you wish you had. In these moments, pause and ask yourself, can I make room for what is, even if it's not what I want right now? This is not about giving up. It is about softening the inner fight that keeps you restless. The mind will often argue, if I accept this moment, I'll never change anything. But acceptance is not the same as complacency. In fact, it is the foundation for real change. You cannot move skillfully toward the future if you are blind to the truth of the present. Resisting reality wastes energy. Accepting it allows you to see clearly and act wisely. Imagine trying to navigate a river while refusing to acknowledge the current. You will tire yourself out fighting it rather than learning to move with it. Another key to finding peace in this space is to shift your relationship with desire itself. Desires are not the enemy. The Buddha did not teach that we must erase all wants from our hearts. What he taught was freedom from being enslaved by them. When you hold a desire gently, you can work toward it without losing your balance when life moves differently than you hoped. But when you grip it tightly, every delay becomes torture. Every setback feels like failure. One practice that helps is to focus on gratitude for what is already here. Gratitude shifts the mind from constant lack to quiet sufficiency. You begin to notice the small details you once overlooked, the warmth of your tea in the morning, the sound of rain on the roof, the presence of someone who truly listens to you. These moments are not lesser than your dreams. They are the threads of real life. When you allow them to matter, the space between what you want and what is no longer feels empty. It feels alive. It is also important to recognize impermanence in both your wants and your current reality. The things you long for now may not matter to you in a year. The struggles you face today may soften or disappear altogether. Nothing stays fixed, and that means both your desires and your circumstances are in motion. When you understand this, you stop clinging so tightly to either. You begin to see that you can be at peace in this moment, knowing that it will change, and you can meet the next moment as it comes. Living in this way requires humility. It means admitting that you do not have full control over life's timing or direction. It means releasing the belief that your happiness is only possible when life matches your mental picture. And yet, when you do this, you find that you are far freer than you ever imagined. You no longer have to wait for everything to be perfect to feel joy. You can laugh even when the plan falls apart. You can feel light even when the future is uncertain. This is not a skill you master in a single day. It is a practice, a daily choice to soften your grip on your wants and to make peace with what is here now. There will be moments when you forget, when the pull of desire is too strong and you find yourself frustrated again. But even then, the space is still there, waiting for you to notice it again. And every time you return to it, you strengthen your ability to rest there longer. Over time, you discover something surprising. The space between what you want and what is no longer feels like a gap to be closed. It feels like a home. It is the place where you are no longer chasing or resisting, but simply being. And in that being, you find the calm, steady joy that does not depend on the next achievement, the next possession, or the next change in circumstance. This is why the great teachers of the past could remain peaceful even in difficulty. They had learned the art of living in that space, of holding life with open hands, and in that openness they found the freedom we all seek, the freedom to live fully, love deeply, and rest peacefully, no matter how far the world may be from the picture in our minds. Learn to see calm as a skill you train every day. Calm is not something that appears magically when life finally becomes easy. It is not a rare gift that only monks, sages, or those living in remote mountains can possess. Calm is a skill, a deeply human ability that can be practiced, strengthened, and refined, no matter who you are or where you live. This means that the chaos around you does not have to decide the peace within you. Instead, like a musician practicing scales, an athlete training muscles, or a craftsman sharpening tools, you can actively work on the inner quality of calm every single day until it becomes a natural extension of who you are. Think about how we often treat calm as if it is conditional. We say, "I'll feel at peace when this problem is solved," or "I'll relax when I finally get some time off." This way of thinking turns calm into a distant destination that you can only reach when circumstances bend perfectly in your favor. But life rarely works that way. The world will always have a measure of uncertainty, noise, and discomfort. If you make your calm dependent on external events, you will live like a puppet, pulled in every direction by whatever happens around you. Buddhism offers a different path. Train your calm now, in the very middle of the noise, so that it is yours to carry wherever you go. Training calm starts with awareness. You cannot master what you do not notice. Pay attention to the small moments when you lose your inner balance. It might be during an argument, when someone interrupts you, or when plans change unexpectedly. These moments are your training ground. Instead of blaming the situation or the person, see it as an opportunity to strengthen the skill you are building. Each time you notice yourself reacting, take a breath, feel your body, and ask yourself, how can I respond from stillness instead of tension? This single question can transform the direction of your day. In Buddhism, calm is often cultivated through mindfulness, the practice of being fully present without judgment. Mindfulness does not mean you force yourself to be silent or emotionless. It means you create a gentle space between your experience and your reaction. If you spill tea on the table, you can either snap in frustration or simply clean it while breathing steadily. If someone raises their voice at you, you can either meet their volume with your own or choose to stay anchored, allowing their storm to pass without pulling you in. Every time you choose the latter, you are training your calm. This training is not only for moments of conflict. You can practice calm in ordinary daily routines. When you walk, slow your pace and feel each step touch the ground. When you eat, focus on the texture, taste, and smell of the food without rushing. When you work, give your attention fully to one task at a time, instead of scattering it across multiple distractions. Each of these moments builds the mental muscle of calm, making it more accessible when real challenges appear. One of the most powerful tools for training calm is to observe the breath. The breath is always with you, yet it is often ignored. In Buddhist practice, returning to the breath is like returning to a safe harbor. When life's waves are high, your breath reminds you that you have an anchor. Notice the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils, the rise of your chest, and the gentle fall of your belly. Stay with this rhythm for a few moments. You will feel the edges of your tension begin to soften, and your mind will have more space to think clearly. Another tool is to release the habit of constant mental commentary. Often, what disturbs our calm is not the event itself, but the story we tell ourselves about it. If someone is late to meet you, your mind might start spinning. They don't respect my time. They're always like this. Why do I even bother? This inner narration fuels your agitation. Instead, notice the facts without adding emotional decoration. They are late. I am here. I can use this time to breathe or reflect. In doing so, you remove unnecessary noise from your mind, allowing calm to settle. It is also important to remember that calm does not mean passive acceptance of everything. In Buddhism, calm and wisdom go hand in hand. Being calm allows you to see situations more clearly, which often reveals a more skillful action. If someone is being hurtful, calmness helps you set boundaries without anger clouding your judgment. If a situation is unjust, calmness helps you respond with steady determination rather than reckless impulse. In this way, calm becomes not a sign of weakness but a sign of strength, the kind of strength that is unshaken by provocation. A useful perspective to adopt is to treat every challenge as a teacher of calm. When your flight is delayed, it is a lesson in patience. When someone cuts you off in traffic, it is a lesson in letting go. When plans are cancelled, it is a lesson in adapting without frustration. Life will give you endless material to work with if you choose to see it this way. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you can say, "This is my chance to train." Over time, these small lessons accumulate, and you find yourself responding to life with a quiet steadiness that surprises even you. You can also strengthen your calm through compassion. Often, we lose our peace because we see others as obstacles or threats. Compassion softens this perspective. When someone shouts at you, instead of immediately feeling attacked, you might think, "This person must be carrying pain." This shift does not excuse harmful behavior, but it prevents you from absorbing their storm into your own heart. By extending compassion, you create a protective field around your calm. Finally, remember that calm is a lifelong practice, not a final destination. There will be days when you lose your patience, when your voice rises, or when your mind feels like a crowded marketplace. This does not mean you have failed, it means you are human. The point is not to be calm all the time, but to return to calm more quickly and more often. With consistent practice, the return becomes easier, the noise feels smaller, and the space inside you grows larger. So, treat calm as a skill. Train it when the seas are gentle, so that when the storms come, you can stand at the helm with steady hands. Train it in the small, everyday moments, so that when life gets loud, you will already know how to hear the quiet within. In time, you will see that calm is not something you visit, it is something you carry. And when you carry calm, you carry freedom. When life gets loud, it is not the noise itself that robs you of your peace. It is your attachment to it, your belief that you must react, fix, or control every single thing that comes your way. The truth is, the world will never stop being noisy. People will keep talking, events will keep unfolding, distractions will keep appearing. If you wait for silence to come from the outside, you may wait your entire life and still never find it. But if you learn to cultivate silence on the inside, you can carry it with you everywhere. The teachings we explored are not just ideas to think about, they are practices to live by. Every time you anchor yourself in your breath before reacting, you reclaim the present moment from the chaos. Every time you create space between stimulus and response, you build the kind of inner strength that no situation can break. Each time you choose stillness over impulsiveness, you are training your mind to remain untouched by the noise. Buddhism reminds us that peace is not something that needs to be built from scratch. It is already here, underneath the layers of thought, fear, and restlessness. Imagine your mind as a lake. When it is stirred by the wind, the surface ripples, distorting everything it reflects. But when the wind dies down, the water becomes still, and you can see clearly to the depths. The noise of life is the wind, but you have the power to let it pass without letting it disturb the surface of your mind. This is the path of mastery, not controlling the outside world, but mastering the way you meet it inside yourself. It is choosing to walk slowly through a rushing crowd, to speak gently in a room full of shouting voices, to keep your heart soft in a world that often grows hard. And so, the next time life grows loud, do not rush to shout over the noise. Instead, breathe. Feel the ground beneath you. Remember that you are not the storm, you are the mountain it moves around. The world may shake, but your roots remain deep. This is your calm, this is your peace. And once you learn to live from that place, no noise, no matter how loud, will ever be able to take it from you.